G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to more stories from Relationship Advice. If you're new and you like these stories, don't forget to like and subscribe, or even hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. With that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's get right into it. Posted by user T-Wold-Cat titled, "Am I the a-hole for choosing my senior cat over my sister and potentially allowing her to become homeless?" I'll preface this by saying that my mother treated my sister and I differently. I was always less than, while she could do no wrong. She'd always buy my sister everything she wanted, while I wore her hand-me-downs. I moved out at 18, worked through college, went no contact with my mum and low contact with my sister, and our paths diverged greatly from there. I now work in a field that pays well, while she is a stay-at-home mum. I guess I never quite got over this, and while I know the main a-hole is my mother and my sister didn't really know any better, I still fester negative feelings towards both of them. I found Tom in a bag as a newborn kitten. He was the only one still alive, and I raised him over summer break when I was 13. Then, when school started, my mother got rid of him, and I had to go through great and extreme lengths to find out where she dumped him. Took me a week to find him, and we've been together ever since. For a few months, Tom hasn't really been okay and has been slowly declining. The vet, however, based on the recent blood panel we did, was confident that he still has some life left to live and said that he's by far the healthiest geriatric cat that she has seen in a while. Thus, we decided to try out surgery to improve his quality of life, even though he's 21. This surgery comes with a price tag. I'm not in the US, but it's around 3 months' worth of minimum wage in my country. It won't set us back much, hardly an inconvenience, but we'll be frugal just in case complications happen. He's scheduled for Monday, fingers crossed. Anyway, my sister dropped by on Sunday, which was strange. We haven't spoken since she'd massed me a Merry Christmas gif on Facebook. Looks like her husband jumped onto the NFT bandwagon, and they're kind of broke and a few months behind on mortgage, and asked if I could help out with the payments since they're at risk of becoming homeless. I said I'm sorry she's going through this, but this is not a good time for me either, and listed the reasons above. I do not want to ever be in a situation where my cat's life depends on $100 that I can't afford to pay. I suggested she got a job and maybe downsize or move in with mother while they can get back on their feet. She did not take this well. She called me a C-word and a crazy cat lady that's going to end up alone, plus some other nice words. I kicked her out. My mother and other relatives have been spamming me through the week for being heartless and caring more about an animal than my own flesh and blood. My husband says that I could have just given her some cash to avoid the drama, and he is right. I could have. This is why I feel like I might be the a-hole. In the end, the main reason I chose not to help is due to my childhood baggage. Am I the a-hole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the a-hole. I decided not to help my sister because I would rather have a buffer when I operate on my geriatric cat. I feel like I might be an a-hole though, because financially, it wouldn't take that much of a toll on our budget. For my 2 cents on this issue, if their abuse was enough that you went no contact with your mum and low contact with your sister, I feel like that means they never acknowledged that their behavior was wrong, you never got an apology from them, and your sister just moved forward from this and maybe forgets what they all put you through your childhood. In my eyes, she owes you an apology and you owe her nothing. It doesn't matter if it's not a financial burden to you, you can say no, and you did. Just like you could have just given her some cash to avoid the drama, but you didn't. Given the circumstances, you're not an a-hole for that. Not your circus, not your monkeys. She burnt that bridge a long time ago, and she deserves less than nothing. Not the a-hole for this one. Here's some relevant comments. About why she's spending money on an old cat. I get what you're saying, but I saw the blood tests. 90% of the values are within range. I cannot, in good faith, put down an objectively healthy cat, especially one that's been with me through thick and thin. I struggled a lot before going this route. I tried everything I could to avoid dragging him through surgery. It's gotten to the point where I can have him operated on and maybe live for a few more years, or just put him down. A technically healthy cat with oral issues. I'm okay with being the a-hole if it means that he gets to live pain-free for a while longer. Not the a-hole. It's not your job to take care of your sister's money woes. Like you said, she can get a job if she's so hard up for money. On another note, I hope all goes well for Tom, and am sending good energy your way for him. Not the a-hole. If your relatives think your sister deserves the money, I'm sure they're happy to help her and pay whatever she needs paid, am I right? Not the a-hole. She's a grown woman and still has your mother. She wouldn't let her favorite child sleep on the streets, right? You went no contact and low contact for a reason, and it's fine to stick to it. You owe them nothing. Focus on your cat, your husband, and yourself, and don't overthink it. Alright, and now let's go to the update. Thank you so much to all of you who have wished Tom good luck on his surgery. I'm ecstatic to let you know all went well. I was a bit cautious on providing an update, as I wanted to make sure he is indeed better before celebrating. On the weekend leading to the big day, I bought him his favorite food. These tiny fish that in my country are generally eaten whole. Fried anchovies, that he loves to gobble up raw. I only ever give those as a treat maybe a few times a year, since they're not exactly healthy for cats, but I made an exception since, things could have gone terribly bad. The operation went great. The vet said there were no complications, and I got him home in the afternoon and he slept it off until midnight when he started asking for food. He's been eating like he's trying to make up for the weight loss he suffered. He's also been more alert these days, started following me around again and begging for food, and it looks like he's sleeping better too. He would generally just lay awake on his cat bed all day, looking unhappy. Now he's sleeping soundly between meals. The only discomfort he has is related to the stitches on his gums, but they should fall off in a few weeks. Oh god, I hope his gums don't fall off. Honestly, it's like they didn't remove only his teeth, but also chipped off a few years. I'd also like to thank all of you that called me out on using him as an excuse. You're right, I was using him as an excuse. No has never been a full sentence for me, so I am now actively looking for finding a good therapist. I still stand by my decision of not helping my sister out though, and many numbers and social media accounts have been blocked. I'm thinking about leaving this account active and adding a final update in a week or a month or a year, or whatever time it is to bid Tom farewell. But for now, he seems happy, so I have no doubt I have made the right choice. Opie continues in the comments. This was supposed to be a part of the post, but character limit. As for the people calling out our vet for being unethical, let's agree to disagree. Indeed, there are bad vets out there. As with all professions, a lot of individuals have chosen veterinary medicine in order to make money with zero regards for their patients or their owners. There are vets who will drag your animal through unnecessary treatments or investigation just to blow up your bill. That is true. However, there is no reason to doubt each and every recommendation or treatment suggestion that vets make. If something your vet says or does sends red flags, by all means, seek a second opinion. Ask them what meds they used and why. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Educate yourselves, look up the issue online, check the practice's reviews, look if there are any Facebook groups dedicated to that particular ailment, and ask for recommendations. But don't outright refuse to follow your vet's recommendation just out of fear of it being a cash grab. Your pet has only you to advocate for their well-being, and not following through with the treatment may very well cost them their lives. Now for some comments. My husband is a complete effing idiot with money. Let your cat die so we can continue being irresponsible morons. F them, and Tom's a cutie. I mean, give it once, and you'll be giving money to them all your life. It's good that she cut that out before that became a thing. I love how the update was all about her cat and how much she loves him, and the sister was an afterthought. Good decision not to give the sister money when she doesn't even have a job. Tend to your own garden first. Dental surgery can have a crazy positive impact on a pet's quality of life. My little old pup has 0 teeth, but all the energy and attitude of a young gun. Glad she got more time with her sweet boy. I recommend saying no and giving no reason, or saying I can't afford to, repeat. Anytime you give an explanation to someone wanting a loan or a favor, the details you give them are a tool to dig with to try to change your mind or just piss them off. So just say, no, I can't, with few details. And I recently paid for oral surgery for my 17-year-old cat. She is now pain-free and eating better. It was worth it. And I guess I'll round out this story as well myself, saying I'm just glad that it ended so nicely. It's great to see people have solid boundaries and keep abusive people like this sister and this stupid brother-in-law out of their lives. OP's cat's life is not worth losing over bailing out two absolute idiots who gambled all their money away. OP is even less of an a-hole for what they've done, and I'm so proud of them for that. Posted by user RoseShipT, titled, "My husband texted me that he left for 2 days with no warning." Life has been stressful, and like a lot of people, we've been under a lot of stress individually and relationally. I am sympathetic to needing a break for sure. He had recently gotten a concussion as well, which is miserable, and had mentioned planning a solo trip somewhere a couple of times, and he's done them in the past. We had talked about our day, I felt like we had a nice morning, and I left to go run errands and was going to pick him up after work. While I was out, I called him to ask a question, and he didn't answer. I was concerned that he left his phone at home when he supposedly left for work, but a few minutes later I got a text saying that he was feeling stressed and overwhelmed and that he's sorry it's short notice, but he's leaving for 2 days to stay with a relative and is disconnecting from his phone and will text me tomorrow to check in, and that hopefully we can use this time to refocus. Like I said, I am so understanding of needing a break from life, and it seems like it was needed for him. However, I have conflicting feelings over this. I was beside myself, worried. He's never just up and left, and I was freaking out until I could get a hold of his relative and make sure he was there, and was relieved to know that he was safe. In moments of feeling so much that a person can't think is one thing. I've been there before too, but sending a text and immediately going no contact for 2 days is something that as a spouse doesn't sit well with me. If he had called instead of texted, or even called later in the day, maybe when he wasn't so overwhelmed, just to let me know that he was alright, it would have been a different story. So the next day when he checked in, he sent me a text saying he was sorry I was blindsided by the sudden decision and knows this is uncomfortable for me, and thanked me for giving him time to process. When I asked if he could call just to hear his voice, he said he couldn't do that, and he hasn't contacted me yet. I know that when discussing mental health, it's important to prioritize the person struggling, and to say, "I'm upset he won't call me," might seem kinda shallow. But truthfully, if I'm trying to be in a partnership with someone who just walked out the door, this is concerning to me in regards to maintaining trust, which we have been working on in counseling. I want to be supportive and understanding, but this hurt like hell. He is in therapy, I am in therapy, and we were supposed to have couples counseling today, ironically, but that's not happening now. I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to go forward. I'm not okay with how the situation happened. I feel so hurt. Am I being inconsiderate? I need help. Please throw me any advice. I feel like I'm drowning. In the comments, check the bank records. Concussions and subsequent brain injuries are absolutely known to result in severe, if not debilitating, personality changes. I would consider this a strong possibility if nothing else explains it. I agree with this. OP, has he seen a doctor? I've had a severe concussion and it wreaked havoc on my emotions and changed my personality. I was anxious all the time. I couldn't focus. It was impossible to think rationally. I couldn't control my emotions at all, and this was while under the care of a doctor. I did seek out therapy because I was having so much trouble regulating my emotions and mood. As much of a red flag as this seems to normal people without a head injury, please cut him some slack. Head injuries are confusing, scary, and everything is overwhelming. I know it's hard, but try to be supportive. He's literally not in his right mind. OP replies, when asked today, he swore he's been feeling the exact same overwhelm before his injury, and it isn't that. I am inclined to agree with you, as there has been a subtle shift from my perspective. Regardless, if he doesn't feel like that's the issue, then all that is in store for me is to hope that he would have realized soon and make adjustments, in the best case, for the sake of the relationship, realize later after he's better, and then I guess I get the satisfaction of being validated, or else I'm stuck with someone whose brain is too broken to act in a way that is tolerable. so I feel like the ball's in his court on that one. This sounds like it is unacceptable. I would expect this from a high school relationship, not a marriage. I don't know why you're being downvoted. You're absolutely right. In a marriage, you communicate. You don't just disappear and then get to play the depression and mental issues card. The husband is being an immature man-child with his behavior, and she needs to say, hey, I'm not effing okay with how you're acting and treating me. Edit for an update. Thank you for the support. It was really helpful. The only person I could talk to about this has been out of cell coverage, and your comments helped me put my words into feelings. I was able to speak to him on the phone, finally. After expressing my worries and frustrations, he told me he admitted leaving me like he did was a bad decision, but he needed to take care of himself first and figure out what he wants before saying, I'm sorry I caused you to worry, but I hope you can take some time and understand why I did that. I asked him to come up with a better apology that takes my feelings into consideration if he wants this relationship to continue. I point blank asked, do you want me? And the silence after that spoke louder than anything. Wow. He informed me that he is currently trying to decide what he wants from life, including our relationship. I told him that he'd need to make a decision pretty soon if he wants me to be an option, and when asked when he'd be returning, he said he doesn't know how many more days he'll be gone, but he would let me know soon. As many pointed out, the concussion puts a variable in here. It is the only reason that I can think that would make him act like he never has in the past. And though devastated and in total shock, I'm going to hear whatever he has to say when he decides to come home. I have put off making my decision for the moment. My whole world feels too askew to make one. I just can't believe this. We had a wedding and consider ourselves married, but are not legally married, so it makes things a lot simpler. Also, his relatives live out in the sticks and have been keeping an eye out because of the head injury. He might be acting like a dick, but he isn't a cheater. That is so interesting to me. You had a wedding and consider yourselves married but are not legally married. I've never heard of a weird arrangement like that before, but hey, if you guys know of one like that, let me know in the comments because this is the first I've ever heard. I'm going to side with everyone in the comments here and say I believe this is the concussion. Concussions are no joke. I have had many concussions in the past myself, and I know what it feels like to go through that, so personally, that makes a lot of sense to me as to the, random change of pace that this guy has just decided to be on. I don't agree with his actions, but I can see how the concussion would influence them. But what about you guys? I want to know what you guys think before we get to the update. And now for the update to a post I made over a year ago when my husband left me. It feels like years since this happened, but I wanted to follow up on it. This community was incredibly helpful when I didn't have anyone to turn to, and I am really grateful for the people who were able to help. I had been so entrenched in fixing things that I couldn't even see how toxic this relationship had become and was taking on blame for things out of my control. My now ex had ended up calling me after a few days in hiatus and broke up with me over the phone. He requested that I just sell all of his stuff, but I told him that he needed to come back and get it himself, which he did with the condition that I promised I wouldn't be there. Unfortunately, I had to clean out the rest of our apartment and deal with all of the logistics of bills, and felt like I had to harass him for the half of them when he wouldn't send it when I asked. He stopped talking to me, and it became known to me that he was telling his family that I was a narcissist and manipulative. The reasoning given of why he left so suddenly, and they completely cut contact as well. Many pointed to the head injury he had sustained as the reason this went down the way it did, and I definitely agreed that that was the catalyst, so I made sure his relatives knew about it in case he needed help. However, I couldn't do anything beyond accept that he was actively rejecting me, and I haven't seen him since the day that he left. I had a soft place to land at my parents' house and started healing from there. I had already been seeing a therapist, and she was my godsend, and I was able to open up about some of the issues that I acquired during this relationship and really see it for what it had been, which was a clash of immaturity and mental health struggles that caused us both to inadvertently hurt each other all the time. I worked from the beginning, and still work some days, to not settle into resentment from the whole situation, knowing how heavy the weight of my own anger would weigh me down. And at this point, I can say that I can look at our relationship through the lens of, we loved each other, but we outgrew each other. and the way he left was not okay, and I fully hold him accountable to that. I was hurting really intensely, but I started exercising and worked to be physically healthy and emotionally healthy at the same time. I had just found a treatment for chronic health issues that I had been dealing with, so I felt like my life shifted into a new era. As the dust settled, I have been able to start going to college and found purpose again. I was ready to date again sooner than I initially thought I would have. I was still in the healing process, but I felt like that didn't limit me from having fun hanging out with new people and seeing what was out there. I ended up meeting someone really great pretty fast, which was a surprise to me, but a really good surprise. So far, things have been going really well, and completely different than even the good portion of my past relationship experience. I think my past self would have really cared a lot about what people think, or would have been unsure about a new relationship so soon, but I also know myself and what I want from life so much better than when I started dating the first time, and proved to myself that I have the strength to not only survive hurt, but to rebuild my life into something better than it was. Anyways, all this to say that if you're going through an ugly marriage and people are telling you to get out, and the thing that's stopping you from doing that is feeling like you'll never get back on your feet, it may take some time, but you will, and it is 100% worth it. TLDR, my husband left me out of the blue one day in the shittiest way. I posted about it here, I got some good advice, and over a year later I am doing great without him. Don't let the fear of starting over dictate your life. We love those healthy marriages. Honestly, not how I expected this story to go, but it does make sense. People do change over these long periods of time, and obviously this is one of those ones where either OP didn't realize how toxic it was, or was leaving those parts out of the story. If you're to ask me, I think the concussion knocked some nonsense into his head, and he left this relationship in the most toxic way possible. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments. Oh my god. Our next post comes from user Up a Mountain, Up a Rope, titled, "Am I the a-hole for not bringing supplies to my friend anymore? I, 19 male, have known my best buddy, 19 male, since we were babies. We grew up next door, went to the same school together in our tiny town, went into the same sports, and became rivals. I'm not proud to admit, but once we were in high school, I became a real jerk to him and said some awful things. Mostly because he was better at the sport than me, and I was insecure. He ended up leaving town after graduation, and no one knew where he was. I don't think it's all because of me, but yeah, I might have been part of the reason. He cut contact with everyone, including his mom. He was missing for months, and everyone was worried. I really wanted to apologize to him, but no one could reach him. Then some kid from town was out exploring and spotted him living in a rundown house on a mountainside about 2 hours from town. I was super happy to hear he was okay. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I went up the mountain to visit him. He was surprised to see me, but he was also very happy. We caught up, and I finally got a chance to apologize to him. It was like old times, and we rekindled our relationship even better than before. When I first visited, I saw he didn't really have much to eat or drink up there, so I started making a trip to bring him supplies every other month. It's close by, but it's hard to get up there. There's no road to drive up there, so I have to walk for a few hours. But it's been a year now, and I'm getting kind of tired of it. His mum cries about missing him all the time. She can't make the trip up. I missed a month because I got sick, and then had to make up work days. He was kind of annoyed about it, and snapped at me because he was running low on supplies, but I'm getting annoyed that he insists on living up there. I told him he's hurting his other friends and family by keeping his reclusive life, and he needs to stop being so selfish and come back to society. It was hurting me that he wasn't taking care of himself. He looks like crap, and I always worry about what shape he will be in when I arrive next. I also told him I was getting sick of going up a mountain every 2 months. He told me he didn't ask me to, and I was the one who volunteered to do it. I told him fine, I would stop, because I didn't want to enable him to keep living away from everyone else, and I haven't been back up the mountain since. I feel really bad. Everybody in town is telling me I should resume bringing him supplies and the gifts they make for him because everyone knows when my trip is coming up. He's kind of a local hero from our sports days. They're saying I'm being a jerk, but I just want him to come back, or at least move to somewhere more hospitable, and I feel like if I continue bringing him stuff, he won't. Small update. I went to celebrate New Year's with some of my friends. I'm trying to convince them to do a group visit with me in a few weeks. I told them the only way I'd go back up again is if some of them came with me. I didn't really want to do it again, but I will if other people are with me. I'm hoping that if they go once, they'll take the initiative and start visiting by themselves too. Or better yet, we can all convince him to come down. They seemed vaguely open to it, but I'm not sure if it's, we want to do this, or just humoring me to shut me up. Honestly, I'm gonna go with not the a-hole for this one. If he wants to roleplay as the Unabomber or John McCandles, he can do that all he likes, but not on your dime. This guy's a grown-ass man. If he can't learn to live off the land hours out in Whoop Whoop, then what are you doing enabling him? Especially if you don't want to anymore. I understand why you're doing what you're doing. I understand why you want to bring other friends out there. I just don't see any particular reason for you to be doing this. I don't think that you're a bad person if you stop doing it, so I'm going with not the a-hole for this one. In the comments, not the a-hole. You do not have to bring your friend anything, and you are not responsible for his lifestyle and behavior. Also, if he cut off contact with all, including his mother, you are not the sole reason. No one ignores their parents because a friend left them in high school. I'm not sure that you're helping by not bringing him stuff, but I'm not sure you are hurting the situation either. Food for thought. Do you want to be his friend as he is now? Are you his friend out of obligation, or because he has something to offer you back? Are there any social services in your community or volunteer agencies that you feel might be helpful for him? OP replies, yeah, I want to be his friend. I feel bad for how things went in high school. Growing up, he was always at my house and I was always at his. We hung out after school every day. Then all the BS happened, which was mostly me, and we stopped talking for the rest of school. But when I talked to him again after I apologized, it was like high school didn't happen. It was great, and I missed that. I don't know who to ask about that. I told the police and they said that it was just his choice, and he could come down if he felt like it. Why isn't anyone else bringing him supplies if they are so worried? You proved how sorry you were for checking in on him and bringing him supplies for a year. Sounds like he needs some mental help and maybe some friends or family intervention. OP responds, I think it was just convenient. I went up to visit him the first 2 times and people saw that I was bringing him food. So then they started tacking on stuff for me to bring up when I went. Also, because I took the brunt of the blame for the bullying, so I guess they felt that it was my problem to deal with and not theirs. I know his mum definitely blames me, even though she's never said anything directly to me. When I told people I wasn't going up anymore, she started casually bringing up how miserable my friend was in high school to my family, and they agreed with her. When I told one of my friends I wasn't doing it anymore, he said that I was messed up to not bringing him stuff after I treated him so badly, and that I should be groveling to him and do whatever he needed. Everyone sucks here. You should provide more info on how you were a real jerk to him, because this sounds like serious bullying if it's potentially the reason for going that reclusive. His mum definitely sucks. She's certainly manipulative and potentially abusive. If he's snapping at you for running late, he doesn't then get to say that he never asked at the start. Everyone who is asking you to do it could try to do it themselves. If he wants to live a reclusive life, that's his choice, but he needs to deal with the consequences. OP replies, I told him I didn't want to be friends with him anymore, and I started calling him a loser. Our friends also started excluding him because I made up some crap about him. Yeah, it was stupid, and I sucked. I feel horrible. I was going through some crap at the time. Not that it excuses anything, and yeah, he didn't deserve it. Edit, his mum's actually pretty nice though. She bakes his favorite treats to send up with me, and he writes her letters to send down with me. I tried to give him a phone, but the reception wasn't good. He doesn't want to talk to her because he thinks he disappointed her from what she's told me was written in the letters. So after hearing this extra information, do you guys still stick with your original decision on this story? And now for the update. I did end up going back to the mountain with my friends, but like I said, I didn't bring supplies. We all tried to talk to him to come down, but he refused. I was pretty disheartened, but he made his choice and so had I. I told him I wouldn't be back, but if he ever wanted to come down, my door was always open to him. About a month later, I was surprised when there was a knock on my door, and I opened it, and it was him. He was so thin and dirty, but seeing him off the mountain made me happy. I got him cleaned up and now he's staying with me. I was a bit surprised that he didn't want to go home to his mum, but he told me that I was the only one who made an effort to be there for him when he was acting unreasonable, and that he wanted to stay with me, if that was okay. So yeah, living with me now, and who knows what the future holds. Edit, thanks for all the comments. I see a lot of you are concerned that I'm not going to be able to set boundaries with him, or that he's going to mooch off of me. You don't have to worry. My grandpa set me up with a really good job at the local gym in our town, and I'm making good money and living by myself. I have enough to support the both of us for now, and really, I don't mind him staying indefinitely. Giving him a safe space to recover is all I want for him right now, and we can worry about the rest later. We got him set up with a therapist online that will be seeing him twice a week, and I'm hoping it will help him. I may be a little over my head when it comes to my mental health issues. I don't know how to help him myself, and I don't know when to ask him questions or when to back off. I don't want to make things worse, and I'm a bit scared to talk to him about the past, but hopefully the therapist can help him. I also urged him to call his mum. He claimed he will sometime this week. And OP mentions in the comments what possibly could have caused his friend to seclude himself from everyone else in the first place. I've tried to gently ask about why he did it. The most I've gotten from him is that the attention got to be too much for him and he didn't like it. He was pretty popular around our small town, but I wouldn't say he was famous or anything. Like, the local news interviewed him and the whole team a couple of times, and he'd be recognized by people. I don't know why he couldn't have just moved out of town, or if I'm getting the whole truth from him, but I don't want to drive him away by asking too much. Yeah, very interesting situation, that one. I don't know all the answers either. Just like that first story, it seems as though there's a lot of context that's being left out. But yeah, much like over a quote-unquote relationship, people change. Fame can get to people, even if it's only very, localized fame. Perhaps something snapped inside and he just felt like he needed time to himself, especially given the situation with OP and all the bullying. That does damage on a person's psyche. What do you guys think of this one? I'm still sticking with OP's not the a-hole for this one, and I'm glad that they did go out despite my advice to not go and help the friend in the woods. Posted by user TopFile, titled, "Getting cheated on and getting a divorce made me realize how much I was missing from life. I, 33 female, just wanted to share this with everyone who is going through a divorce or a heartbreak for a similar reason. I married someone who I loved with all my heart. We met in college, and right after graduation we got married. I decided to stay home because my husband, 34 male, made a lot of money. I gave him everything. Supported his business, cooked for him, and cleaned for him. I basically babied him a lot because I was in love with him. I thought if I was a good wife and I nurtured him, he would love me back. And for like 5 years, it was good. I discovered he was cheating on me when I found a random receipt from a hotel. I investigated a little and found out he was in fact cheating on me. And his affair partner was my best friend Kylie, 31 female. I was betrayed by 2 of my closest people. Kylie gave me a vague excuse that she didn't want to hurt me, but she just fell in love with him. His excuse was, "You do not make me feel special anymore. You've just got boring and let yourself go." I agreed I was a little chubby back then because of my medicines. Also, I was always too tired to work out. I tried the path of reconciliation, but failed. He left me for Kylie. The whole incident made me realize who are my real friends and who are the fake ones. There were people who were neutral, but only 2 of them. Josh and Marie were on my side, and they cut off Kylie. I was really devastated. I felt like without him, I was a no one. I lost my husband, my best friend, my house, and my life. I stayed with Marie for a while. She offered me a small job in her catering business. I love food. When I was married, I would make different varieties of food for my ex-husband. Cooking was just very therapeutic to me. During that time, Marie's mum gave me some useful advice. That is, an average human lives for 75 years. You are already 27. Are you that stupid that you want to waste the rest of your life being sad over a man who never loved you? That thing really stuck with me. I have trust issues because of my husband's infidelity. I have trouble dating, so I skipped it for a while. I focused on working on myself. I socialized with a lot of people while I was catering and made a lot of connections. I always wanted to start a business of my own, and since I loved creating food, a customer that I was catering for actually gave me an idea to start a baking business. My friends also helped me a lot. I built a pretty small yet successful baking business within a couple of years. I started to feel more of myself now that I'm free. I didn't realize I had so much free time in my hands because I wasn't busy taking care of a large human. My house was clean, no one is putting dirty laundry on the floor, no one's telling me to make something else because they're not in the mood for a certain dish. Nobody puts dirty dishes on the sink. I started to embrace this solidarity. I know those things that I mentioned are not something that's big, but it was a huge relief. Moreover, no one questions me whenever I go out. I don't have to answer anyone before going out, I can spontaneously go on a long drive, and I don't have to ask for permission. I learned a new language within my free time. I focused more on family and friends who genuinely love me. And getting dumped has made me see the red flags that I missed in my marriage. I used that as a lesson to steer clear of any trash men in my life. I dated a few men, but they just didn't seem nice to me. But it didn't bother me a lot. I'm happy being single and carefree. I see my divorce as a blessing rather than a curse. I do feel alone sometimes, but recently I got a call from Kylie saying that she regrets marrying my ex because he never appreciates her and always puts the burden of everything on her. They have 2 kids now, but my ex doesn't help her with any chores. She is always tired and exhausted after taking care of 2 kids and an adult. It just made me realize that it would have been me if my husband didn't cheat on me with Kylie. I simply told her, well, you said you loved him, so here's your problem now. What's the point of coming to me? That B had the audacity to tell me that she wanted a friend. I blocked her number. I don't want to be in their lives. Sometimes I feel like I missed my prime because I'm now 33. I feel too old to start over, but I still have hope for love one day. I'm currently dating a guy who is also divorced like me because his wife cheated on him, so we'll see how that goes. Damn, what's that, Kylie? Kinda sounds like the consequences of your actions coming to bite you on the ass right there. I'm actually living for this post, I'll be real. Kylie had more than ample opportunity to see what OP was going through, to hear what OP was dealing with, and still saw all of this and was like, it'll be different. It'll be different for me. He loves me. He doesn't love her. That's why he's treating her like that. It's just insane how self-sabotaging some people are. In the comments, and the gag is the ex is probably having another Kylie on the side of his wife Kylie. Good on you. Congratulations on everything you achieved on your own. Currently going through a divorce after finding out my wife was cheating, and I've been pretty miserable and lonely and broken, but this was a nice read. I'm dating at the moment. A lot of women around my age, 36, are looking back at their wasted 20s. The kids they never really wanted, the marriage they signed up for to get approval from their parents, and now they're free of it and happy for it. And now for the next part of the story from the advice subreddit, titled, My ex-best friend who was married to my ex-husband hired me to make a cake for her son's birth. I, 33 female, am in a bit of a dilemma. You see, my ex-best friend had an affair with my ex-husband when we were married. Our friendship fell apart right over there. I didn't have any contact with her until a month ago. She called me and said that she's not happy with her life. I've moved on with my life, and I don't need their shenanigans. I run a small baking business. It is relatively new. I only take orders for cakes on occasions like birthdays, graduation, or reunion, except for weddings. I have some plans to expand it, and also have a dream to open a bakery of my own one day. A few days ago, I get an order from my ex-best friend. She wanted me to make desserts for her son's first birthday, and she doesn't just want me to make a birthday cake, she also wants a dessert section in the birthday party. It's a huge order, and the pay is good. It'll be good for my business. But as you can see, she and I have a history. This made me question, why does she want me to do it? My ex comes from a well-to-do family. He also has a high-paying job. She could easily hire the best baker in town. Why does she want me to do it? My business is not that big. It made me feel like she's trying to grab my attention or just trying to sabotage my business. Or maybe she wants to talk to me after I shunned her the last time. On the other hand, the businesswoman inside me says to take it. I know I can do it. The party is huge. There'll be so many people from affluent backgrounds. I can promote my business to those people. It'll boost my revenue as well. I'm thinking that if I just avoid her as much as possible, then it'll be good, but I don't know. I'm stuck in between. I need some good advice. I'd do it. Money's money. Get that money. They're miserable together. Let misery have their own little company. It's only like a small amount of time. You'll get all these connections from it and you'll get a bunch of money. I see too many upsides. I don't see a lot of downsides. In the comments, take it. Make them the best cake you can. Show them that you're not bothered by either of them. The best payback is no payback. OP replies, "Hey, at least this way I'll get some money considering I wasted my 20s on an ungrateful man-child." 8AJ says, "I don't think you should do it. You've said there's a lot of interaction when planning the bake and you're likely to have to stay for the party. You might be over the ex and ex-best friend, but there's some weird game going on here. And the idea of you having to be on display at their party while whatever the F they're playing at unravels around you while you're surrounded by your former in-laws sounds like nightmare fuel. I have a suspicion that you're a pawn, and no matter how professional you are, you will be dragged into their drama. Taking the job in hopes that you can get business from their friends will only work if your ex and ex-friend allow you to stay all business. Do you really think that'll happen?" And OP replies, "I'll take your advice into consideration. Thanks." 8AJ replies, "Sorry, I had another thought. If you do decide to take the job and have to stay at the party, independently make sure your ex-husband knows all about this somehow. I doubt she's told him she's hiring you, and that sounds like another bullet to dodge." And OP replies, "I do have to make a decision by tomorrow. I shared my thoughts with my close friends and my boyfriend. They both think that I should do it and not overthink it. My friend said that if needed, she will help. But we will see." 8AJ replies, "I think both of them, and a lot of advice here, are coming from a screw them, take their money point of view, which is certainly valid, and they certainly know best what you can handle. I come from a place of caution as someone who A, bears a grudge and wouldn't want to be seen to be forgiving, and B, hates drama and would not want to be thrown into a situation blind. For me, the biggest thing that makes me caution no is the amount of interaction this would involve, especially actually attending the party. Whichever way you go, best of luck." And now to the update. I totally forgot about this post. A lot of people have been asking me what I decided, and I'm sorry to disappoint you guys, but I accepted the order. It looked too good to pass it to someone else. Call me a greedy businesswoman all you want, but like you said, ask for advance payment. I did ask for it, and they paid in advance. I always ask for advanced full payment. I also minimized contact with my ex-best friend. So far the interaction between us has been through email, and also I have an assistant who is a family friend. He knows my situation and is a middleman. I am documenting everything. I know I'm taking a huge risk with this, but I'm willing to see where it goes. Also, I got to know hiring me was my ex-husband's idea, not hers. My ex heard about my service from a colleague of his, and he wanted to hire me. I haven't talked to my ex about this. Most of my communications have been with my ex-best friend. Nothing big happened. I'm still working on it. I will post a full update after all of this is done. Stay tuned. Bella Bon Voyage replies, "Oh, this is the icing on the cake. He hired you? Oh, hun, get that money and, wow, some new potential clientele." OP responds, "I have no idea why he hired me, but, well, I hope his wife doesn't mind. This is the last time I'll be taking any services from them. Maybe he's trying to win you back." What do you guys think? Do you think that the ex is trying to win her back? I have no clue what's going on. I'd love to know what you guys think so far. And now to the final update. Hi guys, I've read your advice and suggestions. You all made some really good points. So I decided to talk to my mum about it. I just needed her insight about this matter. She told me that I should do what I want to do. My boyfriend also encouraged me to take the order. He says that if I had to stay to organize the dessert table, he would be there for me. I took the order, and it turns out it was my ex-husband's idea to hire me because one of his colleagues recommended my services to him, and it was sort of short notice, so I had to rush this. Anyways, I kept it strictly about business. I did take the payment in advance, just like some of you have mentioned. I always ask for advanced payments. I mostly maintained communication through email. I have an assistant who is also a family friend of mine to handle all communications. My ex-best friend tried many times to meet with me in person, but I told her to just email me because I do have cake orders for other people too. I only had to meet her one time in person regarding the order. She sent me the details of the party over email. And like I mentioned, it was a huge order. I didn't just have to make a birthday cake for the baby, it is Pokemon themed. There were also cake pops, cupcakes, and macarons. Luckily, I had my friend Marie over for some help. Yes, I did pay her, so like usual, I went to deliver the cakes and do other stuff for the party. There was already a table set at the venue. My boyfriend Josh, 35 male, came with me to support me and to keep me away from my ex-husband and ex-best friend as much as possible. As I was busy with myself, my ex approached me and said hello. Not gonna lie, seeing him after so many years, my heart just stopped. This man has given me the worst pain you could possibly give to a human. I'm glad that I held my composure. I also said hello back. He tried to have small talk with me by saying that he's sorry about how things went down and what he said, and also I looked better than the last time that he saw me. Then he drops a big bomb. He said all these years he has thought of me, wondering what I was doing, even though he is happy with his married life. I was silent. I didn't say a word. He just kept spewing that he misses me and my cooking. My homemade French onion soup is still his favorite. He misses that every time he gets sick with the flu. I didn't know what to say. At that moment, Josh noticed that my ex was making me uncomfortable and he rushed towards me with a fake emergency. He asked if I was okay, and I said yes. After the table setting was done, I was about to leave, and that's when I saw my ex-father-in-law along with other guests. He noticed me and came to give me a hug. My ex-father-in-law is a very humble man. In fact, he was the only man who was on my side when I was going through a divorce with his son. He looked really happy to see me, and he asked me how I was. He started to chat with me. I talked to him about my business, and he gave me some advice, and he even talked to my boyfriend. He called Josh a pretty standard guy, whatever that means. Ex-father-in-law was nice and said that he would suggest my services to his friends too. He insisted that I stay until lunch is served. I said no a couple of times, but he managed to convince me. I only stayed for 1 more hour or so, but I was fine. I did notice that my ex-best friend was eyeing me from the corner. I was fine because Josh was beside me the whole time. I chatted with some guests. They appreciated my service. I didn't have any more conversations with my ex. I didn't even stay for the cake cutting. I left the first chance I got, but my assistant stayed to make sure everything was fine and for the cleanup. It was overwhelming for me. I saw some of my old friends and my in-laws. My mother-in-law avoided me, and some of my old friends just said hello. Later that day, I got a message from my ex-best friend on my work email that she liked my service and that her guests really liked my cakes and desserts. She also said sorry. That's not where it ends. I got to know from my friend Marie, who is still in contact with some of my old friend group, that my ex-best friend is not happy with her marriage. Color me surprised. When my ex and her were in public, they would often fight a lot. They also fought on the day of their kid's birthday. To be honest, I just told her to not bring me the gossip about her. But the silver lining is that I got a huge fat check. I can finally buy a new sugar printer or maybe a good quality oven. Also, I just want to appreciate my boyfriend Josh. He has been incredibly supportive of me. He has protected me from my ex and ex-best friend like a knight. I think he deserves his own cake from me. And I know a lot of you told me not to take it, but I guess I'm just a greedy Mr. Krabs who cares more about the money rather than being classy. But this is the last time I will be taking any orders from them. I know they have a 3-year-old daughter whose birthday will be in 2 months. I think they might try to hire me again. I will not take it if that happens. And P.S. Yes, my ex-best friend did try to communicate with me during the party, but I managed to avoid it thanks to Josh and my ex-father-in-law. My ex-father-in-law knows about my situation and my discomfort with my ex-best friend. He kept me busy with small talk. Honestly, I think OP handled this in the best way possible, and I think they did the right thing. They got that money. What do you guys think though? Do you think that OP made the right choice in this situation? I'd love to know below. Our next post is by user Married Leprechaun, titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my own birthday dinner?" So a little backstory. I, 25 female, and my husband Vernon, 36, have been married for 5 years. It was arranged by my grandfather and his uncle. We are not American, so it's common here. Vernon wasn't too thrilled about the marriage, and he made it very clear because he was already in a relationship with Felicity, who's around 30s and is a female. Long story short, Vernon, his family, and Felicity did the most to make my life hell, and my dumb ass was stuck on the idea that one day he might change. About 3 years ago, I found out I was pregnant, and I was excited, but he wasn't, given we only had sex a handful of times before that, and he got it into his head that it wasn't his. The baby had complications, and I had to get a medical abortion. Not once did he or his family come to the hospital, and I guess that opened my eyes, and I just stopped caring. I stopped trying, and I just stopped caring. Early last year, he suddenly started caring, coming home early, calling me, bringing me flowers. It was quite uncomfortable for me. Then he tells me that he's had a change of heart, and he wants to try to better our marriage because he's developed feelings for me? It's all fishy to me, honestly. I wouldn't trust this man as far as I can throw him. He's been doing these little things, and I just can't shake that there is a joke coming at my expense. Now on to the story. It was my birthday last weekend, and Vernon told me his family was hosting me a birthday dinner. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, and the last time that I was at his parents', they literally told me that my baby's complications were my fault and kicked me out because Felicity was uncomfortable, not to mention that they haven't apologized. They just started acting friendly. I kept telling him no, and he kept insisting. He let it go, and I assumed that was that. I made plans and I went out with my mum and cousins, and he starts calling me, asking me where I am. I tell him, and he tells me that he's waiting for me. What? Long story short, his family is mad that I skipped because they apparently wanted to apologize so that we could move forward, and Vernon keeps saying he understands why I did it, but has been apologizing for everything and nothing. Last night, Felicity called me to cuss me out because they've left her high and dry, and Vernon wants nothing to do with her, so maybe they did want to apologize. I thought that I was in the right, but now even my cousins are telling me that I was wrong for skipping. Now I'm doubting myself. Am I the a-hole? I'll be real with you guys, I am so confused right now. It's like that house party scene from The Office where he's like, snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap. You have no idea the physical toll that 3 vasectomies has on a person. Well, Vernon, you have no idea the physical toll of 5 years of loveless marriage, blaming me for the baby's death, accusing me of being unfaithful with you, all the while you have this little toy that you've been with on the side ever since we were together. Seemingly, this is a lot like the Princess Diana situation going on right now. I digress. I, frankly, would be very upset if I was OP in this situation. I wouldn't go to that dinner. Screw that family. We had 5 years to apologize. What, now that she's left, you're all like, all right, well, plan B. Thank God we made a plan B for you that we can all just get back into our lives when she's ready, or when we're ready. Not the asshole OP. Stick it to the man. Screw that apology dinner. They can start with a goddamn $10,000 apology Versace bag for all I care. That's when reconciliation begins. For some relevant comments about OP. Yes, I do work as a teacher. I don't make much, but since everything in the house is taken care of by Vernon, I've managed to save up a sustainable amount. I can leave and there wouldn't be much consequences on myself. Nothing physical anyway. It's my family that would suffer because me leaving would cause them to be shunned by the community. This means they won't be allowed in shops, they could starve, and people would watch them because their morals would be put to question. I'm looking into ways to take them with me to the next city. Oh, it's one of those cities. Birth control. Birth control isn't exactly a thing here because it defeats the whole populate the earth thing. I'm getting Mormon vibes. So I only get the one option, which I don't completely trust, but we haven't had sex in a year, but I have it just in case. Why did his uncle arrange the marriage? Sorry. I don't know how to add an edit to the post, but yes, his uncle is the head of the family and doesn't like Felicity because she's not from our culture. Vernon didn't go against his uncle because it would lead to his shunning. Marrying me had benefits such as the house we live in and a piece of land in the farming areas, so I guess that was it. His uncle mentioned to the family that the only way the marriage would end was if I was to initiate it. I didn't know about any of this, and everything has started making more sense now. One last comment from OP. Honestly, I don't understand the elder's reasoning behind our marriage. All I know is that I was of age to marry and had to marry before I was out of season. What? Jesus, I'm long past expiration then. At the beginning, I truly believed we could work it out because that's how most of my relatives' marriage started out, and they're happy now. After that, I realized that it was a lost cause because I couldn't leave because a divorce is unacceptable unless there is physical abuse. When F called me to cuss me out, she spilled the beans about the house being a benefit of the marriage and the uncle not liking her because she's not from our culture. I plan on asking Vernon or the others about more information because I'm in the dark and it's killing me. I want to make a well-informed decision on my next step going forward. At this point, I'm only staying because I don't want my family to suffer the shame of me leaving. What a funny little situation to be in. What would you guys do if you're in this one? And do you think they're the a-hole still? Because I definitely don't. Mini update / edit. Wow, I wasn't expecting this to get as much attention as it has. I'm overwhelmed and I'm sorry if I won't manage to reply to everyone. Thank you for your kind words and advice. Some more info on my family because I saw repeating questions in the comments. My family didn't know about most of what was going on. I chose not to tell them, but they still found out and were and are still willing to handle the effects of me leaving, but I can't let them do that. Everyone is happy, and this would disrupt their lives greatly. I can't bring myself to that, especially to my little nieces. A few hours after I made the post, I decided to have a talk with Vernon after he came home from work. It went somewhat okay. I followed some advice in the comments about starting over on my terms. I asked him questions that I needed answers to, and he gave me answers. I wasn't completely satisfied, but it's a start. I told him I would give our marriage a chance, but he had to know that he was completely done with Felicity and would be completely on board with this. I told him to stop with the love bombing because it was making me uncomfortable. I told him that I would absolutely not be having kids in the near future. I told him that I was in no way ready to be his wife and we would continue with our separate rooms. Surprisingly, he was on board with all of this and said he wasn't a boy anymore and that he was getting older and he needed to sort himself out and make things right. I asked him if he only had a change of heart because he wanted me to take care of him in his old age, and he said no. He said he realized that Felicity isn't what he's always wanted, and he started seeing her manipulative, toxic ways. His words. He said he was willing to put the house in only my name. It's 40% mine, entirely, as a way of showing that he is all in and would mess up if I give us a second chance. He said he was willing to give me as much space as I need. He said he'll have a word with his family about me needing time and space and taking baby steps. Honestly, I don't know where this will go at this point. I don't know the direction in which we are headed, but I'm willing to try so I can have a free conscience. I've started making a backup plan to leave, but that's in the worst case scenario. I'll update if anything significant happens. You know what? That's a pretty good outcome, and if he is true to his word, at least you get a free house out of this if he, screws up again. I continue my stance of not the asshole on this one, and I want to know if you think OP is in the wrong for trusting this man, and if Felicity really is manipulative and toxic like he says so, or if there's something else going on in the background. Let me know in the comments down below. Posted by user WatermelonBison12 titled, "Am I the a-hole for not asking my girlfriend's father for permission to marry her?" So I feel like the normal situation I read about is the opposite situation, but I personally feel that I'm in the right here. I, 30 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 29 female, for 4 years now, and things have all in all been pretty good. We both don't see eye to eye politically on many things with her father, but still visit him and her mother fairly frequently around holidays, and he is friendly enough to know to not bring up politics around the both of us because we don't agree. But I digress. I've talked about proposing to my girlfriend over the past couple of months and about what she wants, etc., and she mentioned she wanted me to ask her dad for permission. I was kind of taken aback by this, as it isn't a normal thing that my girlfriend would say. So I asked why. She said because it's something that she would like me to do. Her sister's husband did it, and some wedding funding from him would likely be contingent on me doing this. I came back with that I wouldn't be asking another person for permission to marry her. It's an extremely outdated tradition for one, and I'm a 30-year-old person. I can do what I want with someone I love. I don't need anyone else's permission. She got mad and said that I just needed to do it because it's a small thing to ask for, and she wants some of the money to have a few more things at our wedding that we won't be able to afford without it. I'm continuing to stand my ground about not asking for this. Am I the a-hole? I'm going with not the a-hole on this one because I want money and my sister's husband did it are stupid reasons. I can see why she has this clause here for wanting more money for things at your wedding, and just because the sister's husband did it, it sounds pretty neat, but the sister's husband was on board with it by the sounds. Just seems manipulative to me. Marriage is a two-way street. Partnerships are a two-way street. This could full well be a deal breaker over something that is stupid and means nothing at the end of the day. Not the a-hole, and I support you not going along with it. In the comments, I'm honestly going with no a-holes here. I completely understand your side, and logically, it doesn't make sense to ask for permission. However, not everything about relationships is logical, especially with religious and conservative parents. I grew up in a religious family, so I can understand where she might be coming from, but it may be a way for her to feel like you are being fully welcomed into the family. It's a verbal approval from her father that he is okay with you marrying her. And honestly, parental approval is always craved, especially in households where it isn't always given. It could also be a way for her to try to maintain some semblance of a relationship with her parents, i.e. an olive branch, especially if things are strained due to political differences. Also, if her parents will contribute more money this way, she could be looking forward to a dream wedding that needs extra funds. When my aunt got married, her husband just had a simple conversation with my grandfather. More of like a, I'm planning on asking your daughter to marry me, and I wanted to let you know, man to man, kind of thing. Maybe this would be more of a middle ground for you. TLDR, totally on your side. I think it's stupid to ask, but I understand it might be an emotionally important thing for her, so I probably would do it in one fashion or another. The historical context of the tradition itself sucks big time, but the modern day, it's more of a I'd like your blessing kind of conversation, which is really sweet. Here, I actually think OP isn't an a-hole, but he definitely sucks a little bit because his future wife wanted him to approach her dad about it. My brother-in-law took the conversation in the direction of, I'm in love with your daughter and the life that we have built, and I want to marry her. I'd really like your blessing in becoming a member of this family. That angle made for a really, really sweet moment in which my dad got to tell my brother-in-law that he is beyond proud to call him his son. He even included all of us siblings. It was an incredibly small moment that meant the entire world to all of us, and now we have a brother, son/family member. I think that this could have been that kind of moment for OP, and he let it slip past him because making a stand against the tradition was more important, which is really sad. It would have been a small compromise that would have made his future wife and father-in-law very happy. So I just think that he kinda sucks for failing to see that. Ask for a blessing rather than permission, and do it with both parents, maybe even siblings. That way it's sweet rather than transactional and bypasses the outdated portions. OP replies, I suggested this with asking for both parents and was told that her father will likely want to speak to me alone on it and won't include the mother if I try to ask with both of them. Again, I don't mind telling them that I'm going to do this, but the blatant, you have to ask me and only me, is what's really off-putting for this. Mother tradition replies, you don't have to talk to the parents together. You can have separate conversations with each of them. That might be more ideal because it would give each of them the opportunity to talk to you without the other interrupting. Do you think her father would use this as an opportunity to lord it over you? Is he the type of person who would take advantage of the situation to try to get you to humble yourself for him? And OP replies, he won't lord it over me, but it's just his personality to be the overprotective father. The typical, I own a shotgun, so treat her right thing was said when I first met him, so it's always been this way. That's what you're marrying into. I wouldn't stand for that myself, but I'm not interested in marrying your girlfriend. You may need to have a discussion of what role her parents will have in your life, children, etc. What boundaries will she be comfortable setting? How much will you be expected to put up with? This can be an incompatibility and should be figured out before you walk down the aisle. And now, onto the updates. Hi y'all, original post is here. Am I the a-hole didn't allow me to post my update there, so I'm putting it here. So after reading a lot of the responses in the original thread, I decided to ask for my girlfriend's parents' blessing. I told her that I was going to do it, and she was very happy. We were going to visit about 2 weeks after I posted the thread, and I figured that it would be a good opportunity to ask. So my fiancé went for a run one morning, and I was lounging around talking with her parents when I said that I'd like to talk to them about something. They both kinda smiled like they knew what I was going to say, and immediately her dad says, "Let's go talk in the garage." So him and I go there, and I phrase it like some people told me to. I want to marry your daughter, and I'm letting you know that I plan to propose to her because I love her. I also want to get your blessing because I respect you and your wife. He was pleased with the answer and smiled and gave his approval for me to propose. All I needed. The proposal went great about a month later. Romantic and just like I had planned. My fiancé loved it. So this past Sunday, we were discussing venues and the ceremony, and my fiancé casually said, "Well, my dad wants us to get married in this church, so we'll be doing it here." Now, I'm not religious, and I wouldn't mind getting married in a church, but again, why does his opinion matter for our wedding? So I asked, "Anything else your dad wants for our wedding?" And then said that we also needed to stay in separate rooms the night before our wedding too, per her father. Hilarious, since we've been living together for almost 2 years. This led to a massive argument about the wedding, the role of her dad in her life. I told her that up until a couple of months ago, it seemed like she couldn't have cared less about what her dad thought. But would it stop with the wedding? Would it continue on if we had children? Her excuse was that she was ruining her dream wedding and it was contingent on appeasing her father. She didn't understand why I couldn't compromise and get her the extra cash to get her the wedding that she'd always dreamed of. So I told her, "I'm not ready to get married if this is the stance you're going to take with your father," and that did not go over well. The yelling started and things started being thrown at me. So I left. I called my buddy and I went to his place. He gladly let me come over. I've got tons of missed calls from her. Some texts ranging from, "I miss you, let's talk it out," to, "You're an abuser trying to separate me from my family." I just honestly don't know where this behavior is coming from. It's like my fiancé has been taken over by some bridezilla that only cares about having a perfect wedding. I'm just taking time to think about everything and what I want to do next. I'll maybe update again after this, but for now, things aren't looking too great for the future of our relationship. Just trying to keep my head above water. In the comments, L Sapphire says, "Red flag. Pandering to family members to get money? Check. Resorting to physical violence when they don't get their way? Check. Gaslighting you into thinking you're the abuser, i.e. playing the victim? Check." You're lucky these red flags were displayed before tying the knot. You can bet your sweet ass, as traditional as she's trying to play it to fund her wedding, she'll do the same later for divorce proceedings. If I were you, I'd leave. Not that it'll be easy, but if you go through with this, I can guarantee you'll come to regret it. Good luck. So many red flags. Even if she was able to hide them for years during your relationship, the thought of getting married obviously brought out her true colors. Believe it, that is who she is. She values money and her father's opinion more than you, and she gets physically violent and starts gaslighting you if you refuse to play along. Don't take her back. I know it's hard to throw away the time and emotions you invested, but it's better to cut your losses now when you're not legally tied to her. Seriously, run. Honestly, I'm in the same boat as these people. She sounds toxic. She does sound manipulative, and if anyone was gonna jump down my throat previously with my comments, sucked in. And obviously you don't have to go with the bridges burn strategy that Reddit always goes for, which is like divorce, move on with your life, go for greener pastures. You have time. You've got so much time to build a better life than this. But unironically, if you don't do that in this situation, you're shooting yourself in the foot, OP. That's my 2 cents. I'd love to know what you guys think of this situation, and where do you think this is headed down in the comments below? Let me know. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, "When my husband suggested open marriage, my marriage ended in my heart. He just asked me out of the blue about 7 to 8 months ago, and my initial reaction was, am I not enough for him? I mean, yes, I know I could make more effort, lose the last stubborn 5 pounds, maybe put on sexy lingerie more often, and I don't know, maybe spend less time with our babies and not sleep halfway through our movie night on Fridays, but it still came as a shock to me that he wasn't satisfied with our life. I thought we had a solid foundation of mutual love and respect, and we both have high sex drive. He explained that it had nothing to do with our love life or relationship. This could just be something more to add for the both of us. My marriage died right then and there. In my heart, at least. I didn't want to make any rash decisions while heartbroken and act without thinking carefully first. I said no, and that it was nothing that I ever wanted to try. He said that it was fine and that he loved me immensely. Now months have gone by, and I've been thinking carefully, but my initial feelings that my marriage died isn't changing. He has noticed and has even complained that I've been more distant and that he wanted me back, but I just don't know. I don't think it's working for me anymore with what my husband suggested looming between us, even if he hasn't approached me with his suggestion again. It's not just the feeling of inadequacy that is putting a wedge between us, but the thought that he can imagine another man being with me, touching, kissing, and being inside me without it making him sick with jealousy. I even think this part hurt me more than him wanting to sleep with others. We have 2 children together, 4 and 1, and our marriage is working very well. We are compatible with every other aspect, and our babies are happy. How can I ask for divorce knowing that nothing will be the same for my babies anymore? I need advice on how to move on with him with all these feelings inside of me. I can't just divorce a man for asking me something and then respecting me when I said no. I just can't. Personally, I do and don't understand your reaction to this situation. And honestly, I kind of feel like I'm on his side for this one, not particularly yours, OP. If you can't be open and honest about your feelings and how this is affecting you and work on it in a productive way, then I don't understand why you're with this person. It seems as though he was open and honest with you in this regard, and he respected your decision to say no, I don't want an open marriage. He hasn't brought it up again, he hasn't approached you, he let that sit. It doesn't appear as though he can read your mind in this situation, and I feel like this is a situation where you bring it to couples counseling. If you're not going to tell him about your feelings and you're going to hold this against him, that's not fair on your partner. Yes, it wasn't fair for him to bring this up to you, but I feel like we need to have some open dialogue here. Now for some comments and OP's replies. Slow and Steady Win says, "Everyone's different. I'm not in an open relationship, but we are swingers, and we live perfectly fine. I love my wife with all my heart and could never see myself with another person. Maybe seek therapy. I don't think he's a bad person or loves you any less. I know this because he had enough respect for you to bring this up instead of just cheating on you." And OP replied, "I respect your way of life, but I don't want to live like you no matter how much you love it. I don't want a husband who is okay with sharing me. I know it's a kink and many men even get turned on by the idea, but these men are not my type. This is a real turn-off for me both sexually and relationship-y." Johan the 7th replies, quote, "I don't want a husband who is okay with sharing me." That is very different than saying you want a husband who is interested in monogamy. You want a possessive, controlling husband who would categorically not be okay with you exercising sexual agency if sex with other people were what you wanted. You want an abusive relationship. You need psychotherapy. And OP replies, "Lol, haha, you try so hard to make your lifestyle the superior one. It wasn't enough that I said that I respected the way you view love and sex, even if it wasn't for me. No, you felt the need to crap on the way that I want to live and love to feel good about yourself. I know many poly people and people in open relationships that are very abused and in very abusive relationships, so take it down a notch. Nobody's perfect. What you offer is not what I want. It is a huge turn-off for me. This is the whole point of my post. I'm turned off by my husband's request." And now on to the update when my husband suggested open marriage. I want to start by thanking everyone who wanted to help me. I really appreciate you. Before I update, I wanted to maybe apologize for the poly people who found my post offensive. I don't know, but seeing that I was very clear in my post that your lifestyle wasn't for me, I don't know why you still made superior comments about how better off you are, and even making it sound like wanting a monogamous husband equals wanting a possessive, abusive husband. In what delusional world are you living? You know how many poly men and women I know that are in very abusive relationships? Why do you feel like the need to crap on other people's choices just to feel better about yours? What am I missing here? Anyway, I don't know about my feelings. I've spoken to my husband about how I was feeling. I told him how I was turned off by the whole thing, and that even if he respected my no, something has broken inside of me, and that I don't know how to mend it, how to find my way back. I told him that even though he would fully promise that he's chosen me and the life that we have together, I will always know that this is not really what he wanted. I told him that the thought of him being okay with sleeping with others, and the thought of him being okay that me, his wife, being in someone else's arms, makes me sick every time I think about it. I also asked him whether he was already sleeping with others, or has had someone in mind. He swore up and down that this wasn't the case, and gave me all of his devices to check. He just wanted to try an open marriage because, and I'll paraphrase here, monogamy worked when people died when they were 40, but now that we live till we're 80 or 90, maybe it wasn't enough. I am the love of his life, and that won't change, but do we want to be exclusive for 40, 50, 60 years? I asked him why he doesn't just want to commit to just me, until one or both of us fall out of love and we go our separate way, but he said that he didn't want to fall out of love. He wanted us to be together because he loves our life, but also we could see other people so it doesn't get boring. I told him that the life that he is dreaming of isn't a life that I wanted at all. He was very alarmed and said that in that case, he chose me and our family. He would do anything to gain back my trust, including therapy. I will try that as a last resort, but to be totally honest, I think we're over. I just don't want to throw in the towel without exhausting all options because I want to look back and know that I did everything in my power to save my marriage. I have even contemplated giving him a pass to the open relationship on his end, but then I'm not sure if I could still be intimate with him. And then what kind of a marriage would that be? I know this is just an update, but please, if you have more, just hit me. For some relevant comments, Zombie Zookeeper says, "The poly people who harassed you can go F themselves. You made it clear that you didn't want this." OP replies, "Yeah, I didn't appreciate their comments at all. I mean, if I was okay with that, then what's the problem? And to actually be offended that I don't want poly is another level of stupid." Serenity700 asks, "Does he know how close to over your relationship is?" And OP replies, "Well, he asked me a couple of times if I'm planning to leave him, and I answered honestly each time. I love you, but I don't see ourselves as us anymore. I will always wonder if what we are is enough for you." He kept saying that he's sorry and that it was all a stupid suggestion, but I think he's just desperate to keep the marriage up. I think my final thoughts on this one is that that's such a sad way to end the marriage. Wouldn't you be desperate to keep the marriage up? Look, I asked one question and it completely destabilized this whole thing we have going. I'd be upset. I'd be as upset as OP's husband is right now that this is the deal breaker. I've built a life with you, I know you in and out, you know me in and out, so I trusted that I could ask this without it destroying everything, and this is happening now. Of course he's desperate to keep the marriage up, but it doesn't sound like you're desperate to keep the marriage up either, OP. If that's the case, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just leave the marriage? Why even bother with therapy? Why even bother wanting to do everything to save the marriage if it's very clear that you've already given up on it? This turn of events genuinely upsets me personally. I'd like to know what you guys think of this one down in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Our next post is from user ThrowRA Am I the A-hole brother-in-law and asks, "Am I the a-hole for exposing my future brother-in-law's shady past to my family?" I'm 37 female, and I come from a close-knit family. I have 2 younger siblings, 28 male and 27 female, and my sister recently got engaged to future brother-in-law, 23 male, after dating him for around a year. We all know him well, and I have always gotten along with him. He comes from a rough background, but he's always been very polite and charming. He doesn't talk about his own family or about his upbringing. My sister said that it's a painful topic for him, so no one ever pushed. There was recently a family event which future brother-in-law attended. He was quiet during the day. He is normally high energy and sociable, but then disappeared for a while. When I went outside for some fresh air, I bumped into him. He was emotional and said that it was a hard day for him due to negative associations. He ended up offloading some quite shocking things from his past, including that he has a history of very serious drug use, including needles, and that he has done sex work and pornography with men and women. I felt bad for him at the time because he was so upset, literally crying on my shoulder, but afterwards I felt more and more uncomfortable. I still feel bad for him since he clearly regrets it, but it's very shocking to find out he has that kind of history, and it does make me feel differently about him. Obviously, I told my husband what future brother-in-law told me because I didn't feel comfortable keeping it to myself. I also told my sister because I didn't know how honest he had been with her, and it could impact on her decision to marry him. She was angry and said she was fully aware, and it doesn't make her think less of him. I know others might disagree, but I decided that if my sister and future brother-in-law weren't going to bring it up, then it was my responsibility to make sure my family had the information they needed to make an informed choice about what kind of relationship they have with him. My parents agreed that it was the right thing to do and were grateful. My brother said he could see my point, but didn't think that it was my responsibility to share that information. My brother's wife thought that I was out of line. When my sister found out I told our family about future brother-in-law's sketchy past, she was very angry. She's now refusing to speak to me altogether because apparently this has affected future brother-in-law quite badly. They are no longer engaged because he thinks he's not good enough for her, and no one in my family has seen him since all of this has happened. Obviously, that wasn't my intention, and no one said he isn't good enough. I think it's naive to pretend that you see someone exactly the same way after finding out that they're an addict. Whether you like it or not, there are risks that come with that lifestyle, and relapses are common. I'm concerned that my sister will get hurt, and I don't think it's unreasonable for my family to have access to the same information I do, especially when they're inviting him to their homes and there are children around, etc. Am I the a-hole for informing my family about future brother-in-law's background? I'ma keep it 55th Street. I don't agree with you, OP. Wrong move. Bad move. Yes, you want to look out for your family, and yes, you want to protect them from a potential addict, but these weren't your beans to spill. You should have kept these beans buried back in the forest out back. Let this couple deal with their problems in private, and let them make these decisions. You doing this? Very bad idea. I don't agree. I think you're the a-hole for this one. In the comments, you suck. OP, read this, and then read this again, and then read it again. You're the a-hole. Brother-in-law's story is for him to tell, not you. You didn't bring it up for a reason. Your sister has every right to be angry at you. He confided in you, and what did you do in return? Told everyone, so they could make an informed decision? Would you like someone to tell your parents your secrets without your permission? No. Yeah, like an informed decision about what exactly? Whether to treat him like a human being? According to OP's logic, him doing S work in the past makes him a danger to children. You're the a-hole. Maybe you didn't realize because you're so blinded by your own ego, but he's 23. That would indicate that he got started on drugs and S work at a younger, much more vulnerable age. Most 18-year-olds aren't aspiring to be addicts or corn stars. Do you know anything about his financial or living situations at the time? Do you have any idea how he ended up getting in that situation? Can you even imagine the shame and guilt he must feel without the added pressure of knowing how harshly you and your family judge him? Next time, if there even is a next time, that someone trusts you with personal information, try compassion over your holier-than-thou approach, and you might find that people with pasts that they're ashamed of can be some of the greatest people that you ever meet. I think the worst part is that he told her this when he was vulnerable and crying. He shared something in confidence. It wasn't like he was bragging about it at a party or something. This is clearly something he regrets to some degree at least, and not something that he wants everyone to know. For him to be so trusting and emotional about it shows that he is a genuine, sweet, mature person that reflects a lot about his actions in his past life. That is actually beautiful. He told OP in confidence. This could have developed into a trusting friendship/in-law relationship if OP had not just stabbed him in the back. Now he might not want to open up to anyone in the future. Sister sounds like she cares a lot about him and is the only one not judging him. I hope they work it out. Posted by user ThrowRA_UnsureGF83, titled, "My fiancé wants to end our relationship because she thinks I tricked her into us living with my female friend, 28 female. We've been together for 6 months, and I know that even though it seems fast, I know she's the one. She loves me just as much, but lately we've been having a problem. We were living in my car for the last 4 months because she was taking care of her grandfather with dementia, and she just couldn't do it anymore. He was becoming increasingly combative and has been placed in a memory care facility. I offered to let her stay with me. My lease ended 4 months ago. We've been living in my car while finding a new place. I'm from a city in the southern area of the state, and we were making regular trips down to visit my friends. I had a job, but I was unhappy and about to quit because I knew that I could easily get back into my old job. A couple of weeks ago, she suggested that we move to my city because she had nothing holding her there, and she said she noticed I was unhappy in her city and seemed happier in mine. She is on disability, and I work. So we got to my city, and I told her that there is a female friend of mine who will let us stay with her for a few days. My fiancé and her don't know each other, except for a couple of brief meetings. It's been 2 weeks that we've been staying with my friend now, and my fiancé and I got into a very heated argument this morning because she blew up at me and said that she didn't sign up for this. She said that she feels like she's watching me have a life with another woman and wants to end the relationship and go back to her city. I've asked her to just hold on. I'm trying to get a few paychecks because I just started at my new job as soon as we got here. She said no, that she's tired of watching me build a life with another woman. To be fair, I guess I can see why she feels like this. My friend is a single mum and she has asked for help a lot. So far, I've moved a chair for her, taken out the trash, cut her grass, opened jars, and have watched her son. My fiancé and I were both raised in traditional value families, and she feels like my friend is asking too much of me. I feel like I'm just helping her out in exchange for a place to stay for a while. I've been paying her though. I think my fiancé is being ridiculous, but she said she's suspicious of my friend's intentions because of her asking me for help all the time. She said she's heard that if another woman is constantly needing a man's help, she's doing it with the intent to steal him. I've tried telling her that I'm not going anywhere, but she's mad because she said she feels like I'm putting myself in a situation where my feelings for my friend could be romantic. She said she feels like I don't care about her POV. She's made it clear that she doesn't exactly like my friend because she knows what she's up to and doesn't appreciate me just brushing it off. I did this so that we'd have a roof over our heads, and honestly, because I feel like, because I work, I deserve to have a place to rest. My fiancé said that it's been a couple of weeks and that it seems like I'm becoming complacent and don't want to leave or will decide that I don't. She said that if I decide to become roommates with my friend, she is definitely leaving. She acknowledged that it's her issue to deal with, but that she's been feeling jealous because she's been watching me do things for another woman and eating another woman's cooking. She hasn't had the chance to do any of that for me because of our situation, and she said that she's afraid that I will choose my friend over her because of this. She said she feels like my friend is too close and she doesn't like it, and that she knows because she's a woman what other women get up to, and I'm just ignoring her concerns. I just don't know what to do anymore because I want her here with me, but she seems very unhappy. I don't want her going back to her city because there was no one there for her. She has a lot of friends who have effed her over, and I just want her here with me, and I want us to have a life, but she seems very unhappy. I'm not really sure what to do to resolve this. Edit to add, my fiancé said that she feels like I tricked her into this because I did not discuss this with her. She said that she knew we would be staying with her for a few days, but not this long. She said that she now thinks that I discussed this with my female friend before moving down here and did not tell her how long we would be staying and therefore took away her choices. She said that if she had ever known it was going to be this long, she would never have agreed to come with me. I didn't plan this behind her back, it sort of happened, but that's what she thinks, and I can't change her mind. Edit to add, I should have clarified that my friend has made no attempt to get to know my girlfriend at all. We usually go into her room to talk about our day, and my girlfriend is never invited. I haven't said anything to her because I don't want us getting kicked out. Also, I'm aware that they don't know each other, and I just don't want to ruffle any feathers right now, so to speak. Also, I should have clarified that I have met a few of her friends, and they don't seem to be good people. Some of them can't help her because they're in HUD housing. She's saying that she has a few friends that are willing to help her, and her sister and brother-in-law who live in another city are willing to help her also. I don't want her to leave, because I'm worried that I won't be able to help her if she needs me. I can admit that I have been neglecting her. I usually go right into my friend's room when I get back from work. Then I spend about an hour doing work stuff on the computer, and then go to sleep. My girlfriend said she understands that I'm working a lot, but that it's no excuse to neglect our relationship. She has said that maybe she's not ready for a relationship, but I'm reluctant to let her go. She has also said that she's thought maybe I'm not at a point where I should be having a relationship right now. She said that she doesn't feel like I have time for one. She said that it would be better for us to just split now, since it's only been 6 months, rather than months or years down the road. She has tried explaining to me that sometimes things just don't work out, but as I said, I'm reluctant to let her go. You know what? I'm not on OP's side for this one, surprisingly. After everything is said and done, especially in these edits, I feel like there's a lot that's being left out here. Oh, look at this, a little trickle truth. Oh, another trickle truth came out. What else are you hiding from us, OP? Oh yeah, I just casually neglect her and abuse her in this relationship, but, I feel like she's the one that's crazy here. I don't understand why she wants to leave. I never actually spend any time with her, or show her appreciation, or value her. I don't understand why she's acting so crazy. That's what you sound like, OP. What's wrong with you? In the comments, you should let her go if she wants to go. She is unhappy. She is sitting in an apartment with your friend who ignores her. You work the whole day, and a little free time goes to your friend. You say yourself that you want to stay there for several paychecks, so a few months. You rushed this relationship as if you're a teenager. You didn't even know this woman and lived with her. Was this a savior thing? But you just hurt her right now. Even if it is her issue, the situation makes her crazy, and you can't change the situation. You don't want to let her go for a selfish reason, but actually, you also don't want to spend time with her. Let her go. You can still stay in contact, and if you have a steady life again, you can ask her to try again. But this life right now? And that you also don't see how it feels that your friend totally ignores her, never asks her for favors, just you. Even such small details, and as soon as you come home, you go to your friend. And you say that you pay for everything there, so why pay with favors for your stay and lose the little time that you have with your girlfriend? You also wrote your daily plan, and there was no time for your girlfriend? And OP replies, I'm planning on getting a place for the both of us, but as I said, I want to save up a few paychecks. I was planning on staying in the car with her after these couple of weeks, but I'm honestly thinking about asking my friend to stay a little longer. I understand how it may seem messed up that my friend ignores her, but I want us to have a place to stay right now. I just don't want to not be able to help her if something goes wrong because she is disabled. She has suggested maybe living apart for a while and then seeing if things are more stable in a few months, but I need her here. Without her, this whole thing collapses because I will not be able to afford an apartment without her. She said that maybe I should just stay with my friend and be roommates with her, but according to my friend, that can't happen. My girlfriend said that she doesn't even understand what I brought her here for, and that she feels like she sticks out like a sore thumb. She's even said that she wonders if her being gone would change my friend being okay with me being roommates with her. I just worry about what would happen to her if I let her go. Mishy162 replies, You are just digging a deeper hole for yourself with your edits. In what world is it okay for you to go into your friend's bedroom to talk about your day and to ignore your fiancé? If you're talking, you should be in the living area. I totally understand where your fiancé is coming from. And OP replies, My friend just always hangs out in her room. I didn't think anything of it because we leave the door open. The update to this story is a post from the fiancé. Hi, I'm providing this update because I'm almost sure this is about me and my ex. The details are too fitting. Anyway, yes. I suggested we move down to his city. I said we could start looking for a place immediately. It's true that I agreed that we would live in the car and get a gym membership. He waited until we got down there to tell me that we would be staying with a female friend of his for a few days. I was fine with that. A few days turned into 3 weeks. He completely neglected me, and our relationship suffered. I get that he's adjusting to a new job, but that's no excuse. Every time his friend needed something, he would jump right up. He was so busy kissing her ass that he didn't have time for me. He expected me to clean her house. I refused to be a maid, especially when I wasn't even given a choice in being there. I presented the idea of us living apart for a while until he got more established, but he just wouldn't hear it. He would follow me outside and prevent me from calling anyone, and even snatched my phone out of my hands every time I tried. He wouldn't even sleep unless I was with him because he was afraid of me sneaking off, as he put it. He kept saying he needed me there because he loves me and needed me to get a place. It was obvious after a while that he just wanted me there because he wouldn't be able to get a place without me. I'm sure he's probably just going to stay with her, but I don't care anymore. It's not my concern. It became clear to me that he didn't care what I wanted. He wanted to do whatever he wanted and just expected me to deal with it. He would accuse me of being rude to him and his friend. This despite the fact that she completely ignored me. Even when I was standing right next to him, she would act like I wasn't there and only talk to him. He made no attempt to fix it. It also became clear to me that she expected him to act like dad to her son and act like a partner to her. He couldn't understand why I seemed jealous, even though the minute we arrived, he stopped touching me and started ignoring me. He started doing her favors and spending all his free time with her. Then when I brought it up, he said that I was making baseless accusations. He tried to excuse them closing her bedroom door by saying her son closed it. Be that as it may, he should have immediately opened it. This happened twice, yet he couldn't understand why I didn't trust him. I waited until he calmed down by pretending everything was cool, then when everyone went to sleep, I took his fob, got my stuff out of the car, and I ordered an Uber. I went to a hotel and then got a bus ticket the next day. I'm staying with a friend in my hometown until I can find a new place. Of course, he blew up my phone, so I just blocked him, but not before telling him that it was over. He seems like a player anyway. Most of his friends are women, and he was also friends with his ex, who he talked about constantly. He never shut up about his female friends, a few that he told me that he considered dating in the past. I just wasn't happy, and he refused to let me break up with him. He was showing a lot of red flags, and I was done. I've learned my lesson about moving in with someone that I hardly know. I'm just glad to be away from him and his drama that he always accused me of creating. Thank you for reading. In the comments, Dim Tim from Q says, "It's always nice to hear the opposite side to the stories that are posted here." And OP replies, "I know that I already replied to you, but I wanted to add that I'm glad that I saw it because I see how he spun it in his favor to make me look entitled. I honestly think he only brought me there to be a live-in housekeeper and babysitter. He deceived me. He told me that we were going to have a house ready, and then the minute we got into the town, he was like, 'We're going to be staying with my friend for a few days.' And it became 3 weeks. He stopped being as affectionate, and we stopped having sex. It happened once in 3 weeks, when normally it was a few days a week, and even twice a day sometimes. Also, twice they were in her room with the door shut. I see he lied about that. He claims that her son shut it, but even if he did, he should have immediately opened the door. He blamed me, saying that I should have opened it if I had a problem with it. I don't know her, so I wasn't going to do that. He took advantage of that and then spun it in his favor. He knew exactly what he was doing. It doesn't matter because I'm done." Dim Tim from Q says, "So glad you are. The whole situation is just bizarre." And OP replies, "Yeah, it is. Like someone else said, he's playing house with her. He was basically cheating on me right in front of my face and expecting me to be okay with it. If I called him out on his bullcrap, he accused me of starting crap. He said that all the problems in our relationship were due to me starting things. Well, he can do what he wants. I am done with him. He was attempting to manipulate and control me and was mad that I wasn't just letting him get away with it. He was cheating whether he wants to admit it or not. On no planet is it okay to ever go into a room with someone of your preferred gender and shut the door without your partner present. Yet I'm the crazy one for thinking something was wrong with that. So like I said, he can do whatever he wants." And honestly, what a bullet dodged in this situation, OP. Glad to see that you're out of that and glad that you are doing better. I honestly don't know what to say, but I imagine this situation is more common than I would like to think it is. And all I can say to that is, gross. Yuck. I'm sorry if you've had to deal with this before. Anyway, if you have, I'd love to know your stories down below. What did you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next post is by user Content, titled, Male 32, cheating fiancé, female 31. Let me start from the beginning here. Yesterday, I met my fiancé at our wedding venue for our 4-month-out meeting to finalize details. We drove to the venue separately because she was leaving straight from work. Towards the end of the meeting, she let me know her friend was dropping off her rental car and she needed a ride home and asked if it would be okay. I said yes, thinking nothing of it, as it wasn't that far from our home and I know her friend well. I get home and I try to get in touch with her for the next 3 hours. No answer. At approximately the 1:30 mark, I texted her friend and asked her if she'd made it to her okay. I was very worried. My fiancé ends up coming home and says sorry that it took longer than expected. She hung out with her friend for a bit before leaving. Okay, no biggie, just let me know next time please. Her friend gets back to me a few minutes later and says, sorry I couldn't make it to the venue, didn't see your fiancé tonight. I asked her why she would say this, and she said she didn't know. She can't control what her friend says and walked outside. I'm sketched out AF by this point. I have never done this, but I looked at her phone records. Yes, I did, and I don't regret it. I saw that when she went outside, she called her friend that had texted me right after she went outside. I also saw an hour-long phone call with a number that I didn't know on the way to the venue. I asked her what rental place they went to, and multiple other questions. She had quick answers, and they seemed legit. I thought maybe I'm crazy here, and I need to chill and sleep on it. This morning, I asked her to please see the text from her friend asking her to pick her up, and I would apologize for questioning her the previous night, but she said no. I said when I caught up to you yesterday on the way to the venue, I saw that you were on your phone. Who was that? She said, oh, that's the friend that I picked up later on. That's when I knew for a fact that she was lying. I said I looked at her phone records and knew that wasn't true. She then changed her story to say, oh, I needed to meet up with a coworker to discuss a patient. Who's the coworker, and why couldn't you discuss that over the phone? Oh, that's because I need to show him the techniques in person. His name is Michael. Okay. I am sketched out beyond belief at this point. We never lie to each other. I asked to see the texts with Michael, and she said she wouldn't let me see. I said, why not, if there's nothing to hide? Are you having an affair? Do you not want to be together anymore? She pauses and proceeds to tell me all the things that are wrong with me. I work too much. I don't spend enough time with her. I don't listen. I'm astonished at this point. All of this is news to me. I put 2 and 2 together at this point. I know something sketchy is going on. I again ask to see the texts. It took about half an hour of convincing to see these texts, and they were crazy. Sexual in nature and talking a lot of shit about me. Also how she wanted to be with him and how they're essentially in love. She started this job 1.5 months ago. He is her co-worker. He is also 15 to 20 years older and divorced with multiple kids. I have been financially supporting her for the last few months as she got back on her feet and was working extra so she wouldn't have to pick up a part-time job. We own a house which we both live in with 3 dogs and a horse. Sorry for the novel. I am beside myself right now. I did not see this coming and we were going to get married in 4 months. Any advice would help. As an update, I was finally able to sit down with her tonight and go over this. Again, she came in trying to blame me for what she did, trying to justify the cheating and lying as a direct result of my lack of communication and listening. She said she wouldn't have had to start talking to this guy if I had been listening better. I spent too much time in the office working and I don't dedicate enough time to her. I tried to explain that I was putting in extra hours to try and support her and the family financially while she was struggling so she wouldn't have to get a part-time job. She said she would have rather gotten a part-time job, which makes no sense to me. She was under the impression that because this was short-lived, 1 week she says, and they only made out once, that we could move past this. When I brought up the texts where she was trashing me and talking sexual with him, she deflected hard and I got nowhere with that. I told her that I'm not the reason that this is happening. She went too far and should have communicated with me or thought about the implications first, that I can never trust her again and this is all because of her actions. Whether she wants to try and justify this as my fault is up to her. At the end of this part, it got a bit calmer. I said, listen, we just really need to figure out the house we own jointly and the 3 dogs. We came to the conclusion that either I stay and buy her out, or we sell and get new places. The dogs. One of us will get one, the other two to be determined. So that's where this left off tonight, and we'll continue to keep you all posted on progress. Curious what you all would do about the house. Financially, I can support it alone, but it's nearly 3,000 square feet and 5 acres of land which was bought solely to have her horse. She is taking the horse when she leaves and boarding it at a barn. Now for some notable comments. Jesus, I'm so sorry. Small consolation, I know, but better now than after the wedding. Better now than after potentially starting a family. Standard cheater, victim blaming. Don't let her pin this on you, OP. You deserve better. Cancel all vendors, notify invited guests, lock down your credit, or shared finances. Are you sure the affair partner is divorced? He may be lying to your soon-to-be ex, or she may be lying to you. Either way, it sounds like she cheated down and screwed up royally. It sucks, but it's better to know now than 10 years down the road. I'm sorry you got blindsided by this, and I hope it gets better soon. And OP replies, I really appreciate you taking the time to reply and for the advice. I have no idea if he is truly divorced, and honestly, I don't want to know more about the guy. The saddest thing about this is my dogs love each other and will most likely be broken apart. Agree, better to know now. Her attitude about being caught tells you everything you need to know. Blaming you for her shitty behavior shows that she has no character and would make an awful partner. First of all, implement the 180 and grey rock method. The financial support for her should stop immediately. You will need a lawyer to deal with the house and ask them how you can legally leverage the HR angle in your negotiations. She has shown her true colors and is acting horrible. That relationship will crash and burn, and she will then start begging to come back. Sending strength. Honestly, I don't know if there's too much that I can say that hasn't been said already. Just get out of there, OP. Absolutely better now than 10 years down the line when you're stuck with that property and kids and a bunch of other commitments. It's sadly a blessing that she showed herself to be untrustworthy and disgusting in this way. I do wonder what you guys think of this fiancé. And now on to the update. Day 3, I was able to sit and have a 3-hour conversation with her tonight. We talked about our relationship and what led to what occurred. It started with her telling me what I did wrong in our relationship. Lack of communication, spending too much time working and on my phone. I don't disagree with any of these things. My mindset behind working so much was support of the family. I run an e-commerce business on the side and am a one-man customer service center, and deals happen 24 hours a day. I am never not on the clock. I could have certainly been better about setting my phone aside and responding to the people the next day. The lack of communication was on both ends, and a prime example of this is the fact that I was unaware she was unhappy with any of this. It was never communicated to me. She said she felt that I would have gotten upset if she told me, but never gave me the chance to work on it. I am not a perfect person by any means, and many times I do or say things that are misinterpreted by her as rude. An example of this is a week or 2 ago, I was trying to help her with a budget with her financial problems to try to set up a plan to get her on track. To note, I work in the financial industry and do this for clients all the time. She had mentioned that she owed me maybe $1,000 and she would get that back to me next paycheck. I said something like, I think it's a little bit more than that. Let's go through the transfers I've made to our joint account. It ended up being over $5,000. My purpose for doing this was not to make her feel bad, but to realize how much I have been contributing. She took this as me trying to humiliate her. I was just trying to help her, and maybe my timing was off. She told me that I've been too focused on money lately, but I was only trying to make sure that we were going to be okay. We still had quite a bit to pay for the wedding, and my budgeting mentality was on overload, trying to make sure that we had enough. The fact that she keeps trying to justify what she did by attributing that as a direct correlation to my flaws really bothers me. She keeps telling me that she is surprised I would throw away 7 years of a relationship like this. I keep having to remind her that I didn't throw it away. She did with her actions. She told me that I told too many people too quickly, and we could have resolved all of this just between us. She also said that she wouldn't have had to talk to someone if I was a better listener and communicator. I have finally determined the extent of the affair, which I actually believe based on the texts that I read. They began talking 1 to 2 weeks before via text. I don't know if they had met up before outside work, but this time around he had asked her to the park to play basketball and talk. She met up with him and they ended up making out. I truly believe that it didn't go further than this yet, but it would have in the near future, I'm sure. She says he is not her boyfriend. She also took off tonight, and I have no idea where she's at, assuming with him or a girlfriend. It is an awkward living situation, but I'm hoping this resolves in the near term. I do think she wants me to get back with her and try to repair that. I think that the main issue was a lack of communication that manifested for a long time. We got into a routine, lived our boring, simple life, and meanwhile, this problem was never discussed and it just grew over time. She acted out instead of talking to me and also lied to my face and talked a lot of crap about me behind my back. She can be very sneaky, and I don't think I can fully trust her again. Obviously, this would be the easiest thing to do, but I don't think that I would ever be truly happy. Understanding the root cause has helped me feel better. If nothing else, it'll allow me to address my personality flaws and communication issues and see things from another perspective. I started hitting the gym today and will keep a routine going. I also plan on picking back up on studying for my CFP designation. I took the week off work to focus on my mental health. Today, I called the wedding venue and officially cancelled the date. We were able to get some money back but lost a bit unless the date can be resold to another couple, which is unlikely. I also spoke with her parents again to keep them apprised. They live far away and I'm sure they are worried sick. I continue to let them know that everything is fine and calm and they don't need to worry about their daughter. I did some research, and with interest rates where they are today, I will not be able to find a comparable house for the mortgage I pay for this. I can barely find an apartment for less nowadays. I think my best option is to try and buy out her share and have her find an apartment. She seems agreeable at this time. We will have an appraiser out to assess value and see what half the equity would be and if that is doable for me. My questions to all of you are, does this change your mind at all about the situation? Am I handling this properly? And if not, what should I be doing different? For some notable comments, at this point, I would stop giving her the platform to tell you that her cheating is because of you. It's not. She chose to cheat. Instead of being an adult and having adult conversations in an adult relationship, she chose to cheat. The moment any of that shit escapes her lips, shut it down. She doesn't deserve to have your ear. She's hoping that if she says it enough, you'll start to believe it. Shut it down. Conversations are hallmarks of a relationship. You chose to cheat. It's over. Rinse, recycle. Repeat as necessary. Personally, I'd be done with any conversing. I hope the house thing works out. You have so many things that you need to get over before this relationship can be recovered. So in no particular order, you have the following to consider. She is trickle-truthing you, and the chances that she is still not being honest with you are high. The simplest way to put it is the time-honored axiom that kids kiss, adults screw. Unless she can be completely honest with you, even knowing that it may hurt you to know the truth, any trust you have in her will be non-existent. She has leapt straight into Davo, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. This is sadly a classic cheater's move, and you can see this quite clearly in trying to pin the blame for her actions on you. Sorry, but you didn't magically hand her a card saying, "Please cheat on me, I'm a bad fiancé." She did this of her own accord, for her own reasons, and because even though she knew it was wrong, she did it anyway. None of this is on you. Even when the chips are down and your engagement is in the balance, she chose him over you and continues to choose him over you. At a time when you would expect that she would pull out all stops to be with you, she has decided for whatever reason to continue seeing him. Anyone in her position who feared the loss of their partner would be bending over backwards to show you that she is not who you think she is. Sadly, she has done the exact opposite and is doing all in her power to drive you further apart. She doesn't want you to throw away 7 years of a relationship like this, but isn't that exactly what she is doing by her actions? What did she expect would happen if she hooks up with a guy that she has just met at the expense of the person she's supposed to marry? Sorry, but no. She has thrown away 7 years, not you, her. Her lack of honesty to your face is now being backed up by a complete lack of respect for you. How someone can go from yes, I will marry you to nah, you never made me happy and this new guy I just met can, is not the way to build a life of joy and happiness on. Hell, if it was a house, any right-minded civil engineer would condemn the building before the foundations had a chance to dry. The foundations of this relationship are now in the realm of the sandpit in a swamp. The sum result of her blaming you has you now questioning your role in her affair. This is by design and is something that all cheaters do when faced with the consequences of their actions. She wants you to blame yourself so that you can play her game of pick me. Now that you no longer wish to play, she'll easily move on to the next guy and will not give you a second thought. For now. As you say, you have taken action and have cancelled the wedding and stopped your engagement. You are handling this properly, and you need to make it clear to her that once the sole thing keeping you two together is dealt with, the sale and transfer of the house, that she will be out of your life forever. So, are you throwing away 7 years? No. You had it thrown away for you, and you were just sweeping up the mess left behind by her actions. For now, keep all communication between you restricted purely to the asset split. Tell her absolutely nothing about your plans, what you were doing in life, etc. She lost that right when she did what she did, and if she tries to fill you in on what she has been doing, just pull her up with a simple phrase, I no longer care what you do. It is no longer any of my business. Understanding the root cause has helped me feel better. But please also understand that there are no root causes for why she did what she did. That is all on her own personal flaws in her character and morals, and you had absolutely nothing to do with it. As you said yourself, she is very sneaky, and this is just who she is. So get your agreement done ASAP, and even if you take a small loss and end up with a few months of eating ramen to pay her out, you will end up ahead. And then once it's all done, start working towards being as indifferent to her as you possibly can be. Posted by user Seagoat2066, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that pregnancy isn't an excuse? I, 36, and my wife, 28, have been trying hard for a baby and finally got lucky with one, although now that she's pregnant, it seems like she is using it to her advantage. She recently adopted a cat, which I'm allergic to, and said, think of the baby, or the baby needs a buddy. I gave in, but kept my distance around the cat. Whenever I ask her to help with some chores around the house, she always said she can't because of the baby. I tried communicating to her that I don't want the baby to be an excuse for everything. She began to yell at me, screaming, saying I have no idea what it's like to be pregnant and to get over it. It hurt me, I will admit. I stayed quiet and did everything that she asked. I needed a break, no doubt. I had cleaned the house every day, went to work, took care of the cat she wanted, while she quit her job, and she stayed home doing nothing but watching TV and ate. I did her makeup for her like she asked, rubbed her feet, massaged her, but it never seemed to be enough. One day I asked her if I could just go hang out with my friends for a bit, and she got mad and started screaming at me, saying that she needed me here. What about the baby? I was so tired and fed up that I told her to stop using her pregnancy as an excuse to get away with things. I cared about the baby, but I will not stand for this. She called me an asshole, and I walked out. Am I the asshole? I think my opinion on this is that there's something deeply wrong with the wife. If this is abnormal behavior that you only seem to be having a problem with now, I would probably talk to her more about this and see what's going on. As always is the case on Reddit, communication does help build bridges, and it helps fix situations like this. But as it stands, I'm on your side for what you have said and done so far in this post. I'm going to label you as not the a-hole. And now to some relevant comments. Before the pregnancy, we always shared chores, and I did everything equally, or what we considered equal. We never had any problems with communication or anything, but after she got pregnant, things changed slowly but surely. At first, it was simple things like she couldn't bend over and tie her shoes, or she couldn't bend to a certain extent, which I understand, and I completely did everything for her, no questions asked. But as time passed, it gradually got worse. She couldn't do laundry, she couldn't cook a meal, she couldn't vacuum, hell, she couldn't even check the mail. Everything was practically on top of me. I didn't even have time to visit friends or to do anything for myself outside of getting money and providing for the baby/wife and cleaning the household. I felt the odds were mostly on top of me. She never contributed anymore. She kept using the baby as an excuse or her pregnancy as an excuse, and I understand if she had complications with her pregnancy or if it was high risk, but the doctors never said anything about her pregnancy, nothing about causing any complications. Then it got to the point where I had to do massages for her and makeup and nails and buy her expensive maternity clothing because she still wanted to look pretty. And I understand wanting to look pretty because she might have insecurities, but again, I was taking money out to buy her all of these things that she wanted to look pretty, and they were pretty expensive. She wanted a very pretty robe that she saw on TikTok. It cost $160, not to mention that we didn't spend as much money on the baby as much as I would like to. We only got the baby a week's worth of clothes, while my wife got a lot more. She's been doing things out of impulse, such as buying a cat that she knows I'm allergic to. I tried brushing everything off as pregnancy hormones, but it just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. More about his plans for the cat. I just wish I could actually love cats the way people without allergies can, but sadly, I can't. I want to give an animal I genuinely want all the love and affection and support I can offer, but sadly, I'm very limited because of the cat. Not to mention I barely have time for the cat. I want someone who can love the cat much more than I ever could to adopt him. He's a sweet guy, but just not for me, which is okay too. Shelters, yes, but I want good quality shelters. I don't want a no-kill shelter or horrible breeding grounds or anything else. I've never owned or adopted an animal, but I want them to be loved and cared for. If people have suggestions to actual good animal shelters, I would love to hear. And while my allergies may be minor, that doesn't mean I still want to be cautious around my house or take other measures. Personally, I don't see any problem with me not wanting my house because I'm allergic. Even if it is minor, it's still an allergy. I hope you see where I'm coming from. I love cats, don't get me wrong, they are adorable. They can be loving and kind, but it's just not for me, especially with an allergy, so all the more reason to be cautious. What do you mean by you walked out? And OP says, by walked out, I mean I left the house and went to hang out with my friend, but sadly the hanging out turned more into me talking about all the problems that I had with my wife, about her quitting her job. She also did not discuss her quitting her job. She kind of just told me in the middle of dinner one day. It's hard to provide for both a baby, me, and her alone, so I had to get multiple jobs. The makeup thing. For the makeup part, I figured that it was the right thing to do. She told me she was exhausted and tired, so I just did those things for her, thinking that she needed it or she would appreciate it. To the people calling him names or questioning if the post is real, this is his response. I'm not sure why she quit her job, but I can assure you that the post is real. If you don't believe me, that's fine too, but the reason why I feel that I need to do all this stuff is because she's pregnant. All I ever wanted to do really was to make her happy and make her comfortable during this time. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, nor have I ever really been around people who were pregnant. It was a completely new area for me. Since she was the one who was going through all of this, I just went by what she said. I trusted her and what she told me, but over time it became more difficult and more demanding, and overall, I couldn't be happy. I am luckily seeking a personal therapist now, and I have an appointment in a week. And now onto a further update. I recently talked to my wife about couples, marriage, and personal therapy. She agreed that personal therapy was a must, as I apparently have been having all the issues in this relationship since she got pregnant. Although she said that couples therapy was not something that she wanted to do. When I asked for her reasoning for this, she simply replied by saying, "Too much stress for me and the baby. Why are you making this such a big deal?" When I simply tried explaining how other mums suggested it being good and healthy, she blew up on me again, saying, "Why are you talking to other girls? Do you not trust me?" I'm not sure how the conversation went immediately after that. I was adamant about the couples therapy as I wanted to see our child grow up together, and I didn't want our relationship to fail. To this she responded, "I'm afraid our relationship is too far from saving." I'm completely devastated about how the conversation played out. I'm not sure what to do, but she barricaded the bedroom door and I'm forced to sleep on the couch. I called my friend to stay the night at his place and hopefully things will change in the morning. I'm sorry this didn't go the way that we all hoped for. I'll definitely consult an adult divorce lawyer, but honestly, I do feel very guilty for what I did and said. I felt as though I was gaslit. She kept trying to turn the whole subject around, basically blaming me that this was my fault, that I didn't do enough or I should have behaved better. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant. I've never been around pregnancy and I hate to use an excuse. But I honestly have no idea what I'm doing or what I could do better. All of this is the first time, and I figured since she was going through it, she would be the most helpful person. Although it turns out that it was the complete opposite. Thank you, really. Everyone has been such a help. They really opened my eyes about what's really going on, and I just need to take some time to grieve. I'm definitely going to talk to a therapist. It seems that my relationship has sunk. All I need to focus on now is the baby and getting my mental state back in place. And now on to the second update. My wife's sister went to talk to her and she got back to me. Apparently my wife wasn't acting like her normal self. The way she described my wife was paranoid, upset easily, and speaking nonsense. I don't quite understand, but her sister told me that we should definitely speak to the doctor about it. I'm afraid and fear for the worst. I asked if I should come over, and she said that might not be the best plan, and she'll take a week off work to help care for her sister if anything was to happen. That she doesn't seem able to take care of herself. I agreed that it would be the best course of action for right now. I'm not sure what to do now. I've never been through this before. Any help? In the comments, PSI Polnista says, you need to get in contact with a doctor before she becomes a risk to herself or the baby. Call the damn paramedics if you need to, if she becomes completely resistant to speaking with medical professionals. In DMs, I mentioned how she might be suffering from a prenatal form of PPD/PPA, and I know that she can't get in contact with her OB, but any doctor you speak to will be able to contact them for you if you know their name. There's nothing more you can do but get her help. OP replies, I'll definitely see if her sister can help me get in contact. Since she is there, I'll ask her to send me contact information and I'll call them immediately. And now on to the final update. So I'll keep this short but straight to the point. My wife went to the doctors and she has something called postpartum psychosis. I got the information from my sister-in-law. I've been doing my research about it as I know little about this diagnosis. I've came to ask for reliable sources and what to do. How can I help her? Any help is appreciated, whether you've been through it, have experience, or just know anything about it. I thought postpartum happened after pregnancy, but this is a whole new concept. In the comments, Caesar Butterfly 12 says, I'm not a doctor, but I know sometimes pregnancy can induce/activate underlying mental illness symptoms. How you can help is just to keep up on research. Make sure she is still seeing doctors about it, because it's a medical emergency and antipsychotics in pregnancy can be iffy due to withdrawal symptoms in babies. Second generation isn't too bad. Latuda is a gentle one that I used to take. Also, give support in written form. If she doesn't want contact, write a letter for your sister-in-law to hold on to until your wife is ready to hear from you. You should probably also, if you haven't already, consult a lawyer about potential custody issues if her psychosis becomes extra dangerous after the baby is born. Just a thought, and totally not something to jump onto right away if you're uncomfortable with that idea. Honestly, I do wish all the best for OP in the future after these events. If they do post another update, I will cover it. I will let you guys know what happens here. But if not, I think we'll have to accept that this is the end of the line as far as we're concerned. I do hope for nothing but the best outcome for OP and their baby and their partner. No one wins in this situation, and all I can hope is that she gets the help that she needs and she overcomes whatever difficulty she faces in the future as a result of this. Let me know what you guys think about this one down in the comments below. Our next post is by user InevitableSoft101, titled, I'm leaving my husband and getting an abortion. Title, We've been married a total of 3 months. We knew each other briefly before. Religious reasons. This is common. I am absolutely sure that I am doing the right thing. This man is incredibly abusive. He curses, yells, name-calls when he's mad over very tiny things, i.e., I asked him to get toilet bowl cleaner on his way home or turn up the TV when the remote is closest to him. Last night, he poked me in the forehead several times. When I slightly raised my voice for him to stop, he erupted in anger, calling me sensitive and then slapping the back of my head while calling me a beer on his way out. No, he does not drink or do drugs. He's just 11 years older than me, 23 female. Stupid, I know. I'm just over a month pregnant, and since we found out, he's been super excited telling all of his family and friends. In front of them, he's this perfect, charming person, to the point of, if I told them what I'm dealing with, they literally wouldn't believe me. He complains about everything. How much I sleep despite my pregnancy. It's made me incredibly tired. When he asks me what I want to eat, and I mention something he doesn't think is good food, sushi, Japanese, etc., he gets upset and says that I'm extra. He's dated women from other countries, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and says that they never complained about his behavior or quote-unquote masculinity, and says stuff like, a woman knows when she has a real man. I'm not dealing with none of this feminism stuff. A woman will find a way to deal with the man that she's with and not complain about stuff that doesn't really matter. Feminism? Because I want you to speak to me with decency? I don't even use that word. I'm just over it. Edit 1, I'll post an update in hopefully under a month's time. I also wanted to add that this was not an arranged marriage that I was coerced or forced into. I chose to enter into this marriage. These behaviors were not present before or even after we married, but rather a week after the pregnancy was confirmed. So yeah, sounds to me like he waited until you were completely locked down, quote-unquote, in his eyes, until he unleashed the beast, dropped the walls, and the clown show came out. This 11-year age gap makes it so much worse. You'd think that he had time to learn to be better, but really, he invested all those years in how he could lie and fake his personality in order to baby trap someone. He just honed his craft really well over that time. Seems like the gaslighting came along with it. Not too much else to say in this situation, but he's a flaming ball of garbage in my eyes, and he deserves everything that's coming towards him. In the comments, Technical Pumpkin 65 says, you do what is right, but try to have the support of someone because you will need it. Also, try to record everything to have the proof of his behaviors towards you. By the way, as a Belgo-Moroccan, I can guarantee you if he had the audacity to do to me what he did to you, then he'd be in a hospital, and after the woman, her parents, siblings, and friends will be after him. Arab women are far from being submissive, and we have a lot of caractère. That's why they probably left him. OP replies, I've been recording him during arguments without him knowing and have been taking screenshots of texts. My friend luckily is helping me to get out of here one of these days when he's gone to work. To your second point, I don't know about it. It should have been an early red flag to me, but I'm thankful that I found out before I was seriously injured. Thank you for your comment. Congrats. I'm happy you're leaving. We only have this one known life, and it isn't to waste it on negativity and evilness. What he's doing is evilness. He is wrong. Remember, he is wrong. You deserve way better, and I'm happy for you. And OP says, thank you so much for your reassurance. I was starting to lose my mind hearing that I'm over-exaggerating or being sensitive. None of this felt right. Thank you so much. Wasakutane person says, be very careful as you escape. The worst danger with a violent partner is during pregnancy and when you decide to leave. Get your money and papers together. Get them to a friend. Make a plan. Don't tell anyone where you are going, and good luck. And OP replies, I'm making arrangements now. Just waiting for some mail to come in, and then in about a week, I will leave while he's away at work. Thank you kindly for your advice and support. Prestigious Pound 725 replies, please don't go to the first place that'll look, for example, parents or best friends, if you can avoid it. Withdraw your money in cash so he can't track you through bank statements. Make sure you have at least one safe person aware of your plans and are aware of what times to expect you to message and to say that you are out safely. Don't pack anything obvious or let on in any way what is about to happen. Others are right that this is the most dangerous period for you, so you need to be careful. Wishing you safe travels and the peace you deserve, and I am so proud of you for doing the right and safest thing for yourself. OP replies, "Thank you so much for these recommendations and for your support." I'm leaving my husband and getting an abortion. Update. I'm out. I'm free and have the termination scheduled for the end of the month. A kind Redditor gave information regarding resources in my area, and I was able to get to a DV shelter that thankfully provides an Uber, or otherwise I wouldn't have been able to make it. I'm taking advantage of every resource available to me here. I spoke to the resource coordinator Friday morning, and they're taking me through the steps to find permanent housing. Although not guaranteed, they have matched me with different agencies in the area. Wish me luck. Additionally, I'm meeting with another person next week to help with employment opportunities. However, on my own time, I'm applying on Indeed for any chance I get. As for the abortion, I found an income-based place, and given my current situation, they gave me the lowest price they could, and then a phone number to a non-profit that provides funding support. Long story short, I'll be able to terminate without any further financial hardship. I just want to say I am so thankful for the support from each and everybody on here, and I'm so incredibly thankful that I got out before it was too late. Additional details. Although not particularly necessary to include, I will anyway because you guys were right about things eventually escalating. Before leaving, I was sitting on the floor packing the last few items that I needed to. He clearly saw what was going on and started getting verbal again, which led to him pushing my head towards the metal part of the bottom of the bed. I'm not sure what it's called. I shifted, and my body thankfully hit it instead. The bruise I had is finally, after a week, going away. You guys were right, unfortunately. But it's over. In the comments, Affectionate Can279 says, "What are your friends and family saying about all of this? Congrats on getting out and getting away. If they wouldn't believe you before, do you think they'll believe you now?" And OP replies, "I've only actually told one of my closest friends. She has been so helpful and supportive. She's actually never doubted me. She became worried for me and was asking where I'd been. She lives out of state, as I started contacting her less and less. I finally broke and told her, and she said that it was like a light bulb moment because something felt off. But thank you." Imaginary List 174 replies, "Please be careful. The leaving is always such a dangerous time. Some abusers do not want to let go of their toys and could possibly come after you. I hope you stay safe, and I wish you all the happiness and freedom." As do I, OP. I wish you all the happiness and freedom in this situation, and I'm so happy that you escaped him. That is such a scary situation to be involved in. I would not wish that upon my worst enemies. No one deserves to be treated like that by someone that they've married to, that they trust, that they love. But unfortunately, it seems all too common, and has been all too common throughout history. All we can do, I guess, is reach out to these people, offer help, and offer solutions. Posted by user LessSentence4323, titled, "My ex-husband wouldn't let my youngest daughter be at my wedding. Please help me." So I need to give you some backstory. My husband, 37 male, and I, 37 female, have been divorced for 6 years now. We have 2 daughters, Emily, 16 female, and Gabby, 8 female, and we were happily married for 10 years. My husband cheated on me with a freshman in college and left me for her. It was hard for me. I was in so much emotional pain. It wasn't just his cheating, but also how he said that he hates me and that I looked ugly. He even said something along the lines of, I was not as tight as I used to be. You can imagine my pain. It gave me some serious trust issues. I couldn't forget what he said to me during our divorce. Emily knew why we divorced, and she held some resentment towards her father for that. Gabby was too young at that time. Nonetheless, he was a crappy husband, but a good father to the both of them. We shared custody. The girls would be with me from Friday to Monday, and I tried my best, but from time to time I would spiral. I've been in and out of therapy since my divorce. I met my now husband, Ben, 41 male, 4 years ago. We met because we worked in the same building and I was crying on the roof of the office building. Ben was there too when he saw me. He asked me what happened, and I just bawled my eyes out because that day was my wedding anniversary, and that was the same day that my ex decided that he would get married to his affair partner. Ben listened to my concerns, and he stayed with me the whole day to make sure that I was fine. He even dropped me to my house because I was too emotionally unstable to drive myself. From there, we started dating. He told me his story about how he lost his wife and only daughter 10 years ago in a car accident. He was really fond of my daughters as well. Emily has started to call him Dad after a year of us dating. Gabby also calls him Daddy Ben. I was finally healing and getting back to my old self. Ben was really nice and caring. We welcomed our son a year ago. My girls are happy to have a brother. He proposed to me when I was pregnant, and we had been planning for our wedding since then. Now, here is the issue. Emily is one of my bridesmaids. Gabby is my flower girl. Emily is old enough to choose which parent she wants to live with, so there was no issue from her part. But Gabby was still going back and forth from my house to my ex's house. My wedding is in 2 weeks. My ex was fine with it. I spoke to him many times to make sure that he drives Gabby to my mother's place, but now he refuses. He says that he only gets to see his daughters 3 times a week, and he is not willing to give up his days for some party. I told him that he could just take my days for a week and let her be at the wedding. He said that he will not let Gabby go. The wedding is on a Tuesday, which means that Gabby would be with him. I cannot change the date because everything is booked. Please give me some advice. We have argued a lot, and I don't think that I can go through any emotional pain with this ever again. Gabby would be heartbroken because she is really excited to be the flower girl. To give my unsolicited and unprofessional advice, I'd just hold Gabby at my house, call my lawyer up and say, you deal with any backlash that happens. I'm not letting Gabby leave this house until she has been at my wedding and she experiences the joy of that day without this asshole ruining it. Gabby deserves to be there. He's being an absolute asshole by trying to stop her. He's just doing the typical, couple that doesn't get along because there was a messy breakup thing. If you ever get to hear this video, ex-husband, I hope the worst for you. Now to the comments, let's see what Reddit has to say. Titris says, wow, what a massive asshole. Tell him you'll give up months worth of days for that one day because it is a monumental special occasion. Ask him if he really is that heartless to hurt his daughter just to spite you. Ask him if he can look her in the eye and explain to her why she doesn't get to be a flower girl in her mum's wedding. Ask him if he hates you more than he loves his daughter. Will your older child talk to him? While it's not really fair to put her in that situation, it may help. OP responds, I don't want to put this pressure on her. She already hates him for what he had done. I don't think giving up a month just for one day seems logical, but I will have a harsh talk with him. He cannot keep my daughter away from me. User 57701 says, less. Your ex is using your youngest daughter to get to you. It's not about her or the wedding, it's about pushing buttons. He knows how to do it, and he's found one to push. Decolator has the right answer. I learned it the hard way. In total disclosure, my ex did something similar. I thought she was above that, but she wasn't. My 4 kids didn't go to my wedding to second and current wife. They hold that against her still, 23 years later. Karma sucks sometimes. As a last-ditch effort, contact the attorney that you used when you got divorced. See if they'll draft a letter to him reminding him that events in parents' lives are usually negotiated between the willing parents for the good of the children. Maybe a letter will adjust his thinking. If not, I'd follow Decolator's advice. Send a final text and then let it go. I'm not sure how he's going to explain to the youngest why the oldest can go and she can't, but that's his anchor. And if younger asks why, tell her that Dad's pushing for you not to be there. I want you there, he does not. Firmly point out that this is on him, not you. Congrats on the upcoming wedding. Focus on the day, not the jerk messing with you. And now on to the update. So it's been hectic since the last I posted. So I mentioned in my last post that my ex-husband, with whom I share 2 children, Emily and Gabby, is a dick. Emily lives with me now, but occasionally goes to her father's place. I made that post on a Wednesday. I went on Friday to pick up Gabby. My daughter, Emily, was pissed. I asked her what happened. She says that Gabby was throwing a tantrum because of some stupid lie their father had told Gabby that they will be going on a vacation on my wedding day. Gabby said no. She was excited to be my flower girl, and she threw a tantrum. I was furious. This cowardly man wanted to take my daughter away from me so that she is never my flower girl. I stomped my way into his house and demanded to see my daughter. My fiancé was with me. I demanded to see my daughter, and she said that he was a coward for not telling my daughter the real reason why she can't be at my wedding. My daughter rushed towards my fiancé, Ben. I told him to tell Gabby the truth. I was done with this man. I told him that if he doesn't tell her, then I will. I had the screenshots on my phone. I'm surprised that he caved, and he eventually told her the truth. Gabby was crying and saying that she hates him. My ex-husband was not having it. She took Gabby away from Ben and violently shook her body and called her a brat who doesn't appreciate her dad. I don't know what came onto me. I saw red and pushed my husband out of the way. He called me a beer, and his wife came out and tried to handle him. I got my daughter Gabby, but my husband wasn't letting me. He even got into a physical altercation with my fiancé. Emily was recording it from a distance. My ex kept shouting that he will not let my daughter go with him. I reminded him that this is my turn to have her, and he agreed that he would let my daughter stay with me until the wedding is over. I have the messages with me that he agreed to our agreement. He couldn't do anything, and we left. Upon arriving, Emily asked me if it was possible to keep Gabby with us forever because she didn't want to live with her dad. I asked her why, and then she told me that her dad had been really angry ever since I started a relationship. It wasn't that extreme at first, but then he started insulting me behind my back about how much I downgraded by dating Ben. He got even more agitated when he learned that I was pregnant. He's been asking his wife to start having kids, and they had fights multiple times. It doesn't end there. Emily also mentioned that he would often lash out at Gabby and even scold her for making small mistakes. He even forced both of them to call his wife Mom, but Emily refused. She also told me that the only reason she ever goes back is because she knows that Gabby has to stay with him, and she's just protecting her. I cried and asked her why she didn't tell me. She responded that she saw how happy I was with Ben, so she didn't want to burden me. I don't know what to say. I never wanted my daughter to take this burden. While I'm happy that she tried to protect her sister, I feel disappointed in myself that I was so busy with my new life that I neglected my daughter. Whenever they came home, they were smiling, and I took that as a sign that everything was okay. I told Emily that while I am proud of her, she should have told me. She should have never taken it upon herself to save Gabby. I am their mother, and I will protect them from everything. I was going to let my daughter stay with my ex when I was in my honeymoon so that he would not cry about not spending enough time with his daughters. But now I'm thinking otherwise. I don't know what to do. I'm really stressed, and next week is my wedding. Any suggestions? In the comments, Charlie AP says, I suggest you talk to an attorney today about getting an emergency order for full custody. And OP replies, Gabby has expressed that she wanted to live with me. Emily is old enough to choose which parent that she wants to go to. But Gabby is still young. I thought that until she's old enough to make a choice, the custody would remain the same, but now I think things need to change. Adorable Elephant responds, he shook her violently. This is physical abuse. Go see a lawyer now. And OP replies, I will contact my lawyer and get emergency custody. Is it possible to get it within this week? Because the girls are actually excited for the wedding. I would cancel if I could, and if I have to, but that would mean breaking their hearts. Charlie AP responds, Emily can tell the judge about protecting her little sister at her father's house. The judge will probably order supervised visitation after he or she hears that. An emergency order could be done in one day. It depends on how busy the judge is. Yes, it is possible to get an emergency order due to your ex violently shaking your child. That's physical abuse, plus he's been verbally abusing your child. The amount of people who freak out when the ex starts dating again is mind-boggling, especially the ones who cheated on their ex and left them. I saw another post in Am I the A-Hole where the mum who cheated on OP's father with the stepdad freaked out when her ex, who she left 7 years ago, started dating. The mum straight up stalked the girlfriend. The cheater never ends up happy. You see it time and time again because they always want something new and shiny, and nothing is new and shiny forever. They don't realize that things stay shiny when you polish them. And yeah, that is far too true. I would hope that the next update to this situation, we see that the custody is taken away from this abusive, verbally and physically abusive father. Or at the least, see a change like was recommended where he only has supervised visitation. Seems a lot safer for the youngest daughter that way. It's upsetting that situations like this have to occur in the first place, but yeah, like these people said, the cheater never ends up happy. You see it time and time again. It's a tale as old as time, and it will continue to repeat in the future because history continues to repeat itself. I love that. But what about you guys? I want to know what you, person in the car on the way to work listening to this, thinks about this down in the comments below. Obviously, don't text and drive. I'm not going to advocate for that, but I do want to know your opinion on this story. Our next post is by user RaulJPD, titled, "Attempting to build a relationship with my son after being an absent father and could use some guidance on how to move forward." I guess I'll just start right in with the story. In 1992, my then on and off girlfriend got pregnant and had our first son. At the time, I was working for a landscaping company making pennies and was in no way emotionally or financially ready for a child. I wasn't mature enough for that yet. I let my cowardice get the better of me. I accept full responsibility for my actions. Rather than being a man and taking care of my son, I fled. I left St. Louis for Colorado. I had a friend who had set up a job for me, and I went after it, completely leaving my son and his mother alone. Life went on, and I did my best to forget about them. I would tell myself that I'll go back when I'm ready, but I never really made plans to do it. As time went by, I met someone, got married, started a business, and then started a family. I had 4 kids. The oldest is currently 19, and the youngest is 7. I was able to provide a very good life for my family, and late last year, around my oldest son's birthday, I finally faced the fact that I had completely abandoned him, and I didn't know if he was still alive at this point. I left him and his mother poor and living in a bad area. It's likely that he could have been in jail or dead. I decided to confess this to my wife and my children. It was a very rough week I put on my wife. When we finally told my kids, they were rightfully furious and demanded that I find their brother and let him know that he has a family. I ended up being able to get in contact with his mother. After a long conversation, she hung up on me and then days later called me and told me how hard it was for my son to grow up without his father and just how much he suffered. All the nights he cried, the teams he quit, the fights he got into, the identity crisis he went through. She told me everything, and at the end she told me that I could come because she thought that he would want to meet me. She also told me about the man he became without me. He's a medical student on a scholarship at Washington University, and he volunteers for Big Brothers Big Sisters. He's become one hell of a young man, no thanks at all to me. I took my wife and I flew out to see him. Our first meeting went roughly since I said the wrong thing to him. I foolishly told him that I was proud of him, and he took exception to that, rightfully so. After he cooled down, we sat together and had lunch. We had a great conversation. We laughed and bonded a little. I told him about his siblings and he tensed up. He said he wasn't anywhere near ready to talk about them. I don't blame him. They grew up in a situation that he dreamed about, and he grew up in hell. He said that he wants to get to know me and eventually his siblings, but that it has to be slow, and certainly not during while he's busy with school. He said he has some time in the summer and that he would fly out to Colorado and we could do some outdoorsy things together. My question is, how do you think this is best approached? What would you tell me to keep in mind while spending time with him? What should my mindset be going in? Edit to add some context, he also understandably is distant. For example, when he said he'd fly out and I offered to cover it, he just shook his head and said, "Nope, you don't owe me anything." He refers to his siblings as your kids, which I get since he has no connection to them. Honestly, what can you say in this situation? Just think before you talk, and think again about how many situations that you could step on eggshells here. This amazing man obviously has so much trauma that you have burdened him with and that you are obviously now trying to repair, but oh my god. This is a rough repair process, and you're obviously taking your time to figure out what you can and can't say around him. I think the way you approach this is by asking yourself, what do you want out of this? What is the end goal? What do you want changed? I feel like it has to be a clear and concise goal that you set for yourself, and then think of everything you've done wrong this past week or so, and just find a way to bridge that gap without hurting feelings and without bringing up past traumas. Think of the present. Try not to burn too many bridges by bringing up the past in a bad way. In the comments, I'm Not Your Cunter says, I think you need to put together an accounting of how much child support you ought to have paid, including interest. Send his mother a lump sum check, even if you have to refinance and mortgage your home to do it, or sell any item that you own, like a motorcycle, boat, hunting cabin, etc. If his mother refuses the money, then establish a non-modifiable trust fund for him and his mother and deposit the money into it. Next, add him to your will, equal to your other children, because after I'm sorry comes making amends. As for your role in his life, follow his lead. I hope your wife and children forgive you, and I wish the best for this son and his mother, and you too. The Hat on the Cat says, I agree he owes the back child support and should pay it. However, in an effort to make amends, he can't forget to balance the financial needs of his still dependent children and the fact that his wife has no idea and financial decisions are mutual. It is possible OP can afford to make a single lump sum payout all at once, but many families can't, and he needs to see how his wife feels about this. Any possessions are hers as well, especially their home if they even own it. OP says, this is a good idea. I'll do exactly this. The child support, letting him lead, all of it. Lurk409 replies, the child support could easily make it seem like you're trying to buy your way in, which I think would not end well. I would tread lightly around this. It could easily go the wrong way. Lurk409 also says, I think you need to take it slow and be there and open while still letting him lead. You also need to understand that you are about as much of a father to him as I am, which is to say, none at all. You don't really get to just swoop in and expect to be dad. You are a stranger to him just like anyone else. Maybe actually worse, because in his eyes, you rejected him. If you put in the work and give it time, the two of you may develop a relationship as he gets older and more mature, and also sees that you aren't going anywhere. This could take a decade or more, and may never happen at all. And OP replies, I have no expectations. I don't think I have a right to. I only hope that we can build a relationship and I can make amends. And now, on to the update. He allowed me to fly him out to Colorado for a few days to spend time with his siblings, who are all dying to meet him. It went really well. His siblings already adore him. He's all they can talk about. He instantly, naturally went from stranger to big brother. It's really remarkable how seamlessly he embraced that role. He spent the time he was there mainly with them. I gave him a car to drive them all around, and they had a blast. My baby girl cried when he left. My oldest was obsessed. She said at one point, we've got 19 years of selfies to catch up on. It was really nice to see them together like that. He went back to St. Louis for clinicals, he said. But they all exchanged numbers and social media info, and they're staying connected. A couple of memories that stand out to me were watching him play wrestle with his brothers and talking to my oldest daughter about what it's like to be in med school. She's trying to figure out what she wants to do, and having him there as an experienced voice is just so heartwarming. Of course, there is a struggle. My sons and my oldest daughter outright told me they respect me less as a father and a man. That was and is a tough pill to swallow, but I do understand it. Wife asked for counseling because of my deception and because she never thought that I could be capable of something like this. But at least my son is at least slightly happy with his siblings. That's all for now. In the comments, what really pisses me off is that once he was in the financial position to do so, he never sent money. This, yeah, okay, his wife wants counseling and his kids respect him less, but damn, was he let off effing easy. Let off easy, yes, but don't forget where credit is due. The kid's mom is a badass. She raised him throughout all the bullcrap, and he came out like a great guy, where all the kids are like, my brother's awesome. Yeah, for real, the situation was really tough growing up according to OP, but he is still a medical student. Extremely tough achievement even with a normal childhood, volunteers for other at-risk youth, and was mature enough to put aside his issues with a deadbeat to meet his siblings, and was clearly a positive influence on them too. I'm glad OP's ex-wife and kids all called him out on his bullcrap. I'm also glad things seem like they're going well though. The kids' bonding was really touching. Hopefully OP can make it up to everyone. It seems like some great first steps. Maybe his wife can see past this, but I don't think anyone else will be able to. I don't think she will be able to either. OP doesn't dwell in her reaction so much, but the request for counseling for me sounds like the beginning of the end for that marriage. Honestly, all very interesting tidbits that I didn't personally think of straight away. Like, yes, it does seem like he's put his best foot forward in some ways to fix things with this son of his, but at the same time there seems to be a lot of potential information that OP even touched on in the first post that they don't touch on in the update, and in the comments they said nothing. I do question the reality of the situation, given what these people have said, and given the lack of information from OP. My girlfriend broke up with me and told me she doesn't want to be our daughter's mum anymore. The mother of my child, who had been my girlfriend for over 3 years until last night, broke up with me and told me she doesn't want to be a mum right now. I'm 19 and in my sophomore year of college. She's about to turn 18 and in her senior year of high school. We had been together for 3 years, since we were in high school together. She got pregnant toward the end of my senior year. Our daughter just turned 1 year old. The pregnancy wasn't planned. We were careful, but not careful enough, and it happened. I was willing to support any decision that she wanted to make. We talked through all the options together. She wasn't forced by anyone to keep the baby, but I told her that I would be involved and support that if that's what she ultimately decided to do. She said she already started to grow attached to the baby and love it early in the pregnancy and couldn't get an abortion. Neither of us were very comfortable with adoption, so she decided to keep it, and I adjusted to the idea of becoming a dad at 18 years old. I had been accepted to another college a state away, but I changed my plans after this happened and decided to go to an in-state school within driving distance of where we live. I live at home with my parents and I commute to school. I'm only going to college part-time and will most likely graduate in 6 years instead of 4. I had planned to go full-time out of state and had much bigger goals for what I'd do after that. I also have a job and all of that income goes to supporting our child. But I'm okay with that. This is my responsibility. I love my daughter, I don't have a ton of free time, but we do share custody, and our daughter splits her time about 50-50 now between both of our families' houses. She used to have her more often because she was so little, but I still went over to her parents to help and to see my child all the time. My girlfriend is a loving mum, or always seemed like she was. I know it's been hard for her in many aspects, but I thought she loved our daughter as much as I do. I couldn't imagine saying, I don't want to be her parent anymore. There are moments where I still can't believe this is my life, and there are times where I wish I had some more freedom, but I still wouldn't change it. She told me last night that she's been thinking about it for a while. She's applying to some colleges further from our home and eventually wants to go study abroad. This isn't what she wants for her life, and she's not ready to be a parent right now. She told me that I'm much better at it than she is, and she feels like a fraud. She said she wants to figure out what needs to be done legally to give me full custody of our daughter, as we don't have any sort of legal custody agreement right now. She also suggested that maybe it'd be good to start transitioning our daughter to eventually live full-time with me, starting right now. She wants to have her less time, but thinks that it won't be right to do it suddenly. I'm just sort of in shock. I'm blown away by this, really. I can't believe she would do this. It's not about me having to care for our daughter full-time or anything related to me not wanting that. I am so angry and almost disgusted at the thought that she could just decide she really eventually wants nothing to do with her own child. She made it clear that she doesn't want to be her mum once she leaves here. I'm trying not to explode. Maybe she was just feeling that way and will change her mind. In the comments, listen man, you need to go through the courts and get her to either give you custody or sign away her parental rights completely. You cannot have her popping up randomly, deciding to be a mum again. I've read way too many stories here on Reddit where they came back years later, even though they did sign away their parental rights, saying bullcrap like, "I want a relationship with my son and daughter now." F that. You just know that's what's going to happen anyway. The ex-girlfriend will go off and live her life carefree, while OP and the child will go through the toughest years of child raising together. And then she'll come back when the child is more grown and easier to care for, and then will want a relationship. And since the child was so young when mum left, they won't remember the trauma of being left and will want the relationship with the mum, who is now so much cooler than dad because she has cash and free time and no cares in the world. Yup, OP is almost better off getting full custody with child support rather than her terminating rights because at least she'll have to contribute financially. In reality, the mum can come back either way to try to have a relationship. Just FYI, signing away parental rights does not automatically exempt you from paying child support. Not sure where you got that idea from, but the more you know. You're right to be angry, to be upset. That's a hard blow to take. I echo the sentiments of some of the other commenters in that this is possibly postpartum depression and anxiety and/or the weight of seeing all of her friends graduate and move on with their lives and wanting that for herself. However, that doesn't make it okay. I'd give it until the end of the school year, which is what, 4-ish months or so? Start whittling down her time with your daughter to see how she deals with that. If her parents can get her some sort of counseling, that may help matters in one direction or the other. If by the time she's ready to ship off to college and hasn't changed her mind, you need to lay down the lines about what's best for your daughter. Personally, I'd tell her that this is it. If she walks away now, she can't come back until daughter is old enough to make that choice for herself. Kids need stability. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months after she leaves or 2, she can't just up and abandon your kid and then come back when it's convenient. Definitely speak to a legal representative and navigate terms for custody and figure out what would be best for your little. Once you've figured that all out, sit your ex down and make sure she understands, in no uncertain terms, what the consequences of walking away will be. Have witnesses, and once she's certain about what choice she wants to make, do not waver. You need to do what's best for your daughter. Unfortunately, that often means making hard, painful decisions. As long as you're always honest with her about matters in age-appropriate ways, she'll thank you for being her father and her rock when she is older. I am so sorry you're having to deal with this, both you and your daughter. You are doing great as a dad, especially one so young. Hang in there and lean on your family for support when you need it. And now, onto the update. Thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. Didn't expect to get 1,000 responses. I gave my ex-girlfriend about a week to tell her parents about her plans to abandon our daughter, attend college out of state, and eventually move abroad. She's living in a fantasy land. Her parents are really involved with our daughter, so I thought they had the right to know about what she was planning. One day, I got impatient enough that I told her parents myself. Last week, when I went over to their house to pick up our daughter, my ex wasn't even there. I was pissed off and told her parents everything that she told me. I also let them know that I think she needs to be evaluated for PPD. I wasn't really familiar with it before. I knew about it, but only the more extreme cases of mums murdering their kids. When I looked it up, I realized she has a lot of symptoms, and I can see signs that I missed over the past few months. Now she's mad at me for telling her parents, as well as accusing her of being crazy. She insists that she was screened for PPD already, and she's fine. Her parents have told her that if she wants to go to school out of state or to go study abroad, she'll be all on her own, and they won't support her in any way. They actually can't stop her. Her mum assured me she'll make sure she gets screened for PPD. Although her parents didn't want to agree to it at first, my daughter is staying with me and my parents for the next few weeks to give my ex a break. Sometimes her parents forget that they aren't my daughter's parents. That tells me a lot about what probably goes on over at their house. At first, my parents thought that this was just a phase she was going through, and maybe it is, but we've decided that no matter what she ultimately does, I have to get an official custody agreement in place. If she can make a decision like this and just drop it like a bomb one day, she could easily change her mind just as fast and decide that she wants our daughter all to herself. My mom and dad are going to help me with finding a lawyer to give some guidance with those aspects. I'm not trying to terminate her parental rights. Probably couldn't if I wanted to, since it's just not that simple. I just want to protect myself and my daughter. In the comments, PPD screenings happens in the doctor's office and means nothing. They have you fill out one worksheet and she could lie on it. I did. I had PPD with my first. I didn't get help and it got emotionally bad. With my second, I started therapy and then medication after he was born. It is smart of you to get an official order in place. And OP says, good to know. Also, terrifying. A lot of comments on this are of what I would consider retaliatory or first strike nature. They are correct in the sense that you should ensure that you are prepared and covered legally if needed. That said, she is still the mother of your child. Your suspicion may be correct, and she may be suffering from some type of mental disturbance following the birth of your child. You are both very young. Science has advanced in such a way that we know that the brain generally does not mature until the age of 25. What I mean by that is that, at this time, you appear to be the adulting parents. Keep up the good work. At the same time, keep in mind that the child will need their mother, and it would be beneficial for you to keep a good relationship with her. If I were in your shoes, I'd focus on getting your girlfriend mentally healthy. Your parents seem supportive. Perhaps you have the option of leaning on them a bit more in terms of the basic care of your baby. Not because you cannot do it, but because your girlfriend needs you. The best way to protect yourself and your daughter is by taking good care of your girlfriend, the mother of your child. Please keep us updated. And yes, you're an amazing dad and definitely go for primary custody, but if they don't grant that, then go for 50-50. Do not take your daughter back to them without it, because without an actual agreement, she can take her kid out of state and you'll have to find a lawyer and fight her, which is very expensive. Her parents need to know their lane and understand that the baby is yours as much as their daughter's and that they don't have a say. Please protect yourself and your daughter. OP says, thanks. I feel like a not-so-great dad and not-so-great person lately. I've ruined my ex-girlfriend's life, or so she keeps telling me lately. I keep thinking about comments people have made about adoption, and although I could never do that now and would never give my daughter up, I wonder if I'm being selfish sometimes. I look at her and think, I'm really sorry that she got stuck with me, but I'm doing my best. Dads like this, who respect their children, stand up for them where appropriate, and teach them about the world without allowing judgment to be a part of the conversation, are the kind of dad that every kid deserves. And hopefully this is a massive wake-up call to his ex-girlfriend about the internalized misogyny she is projecting onto any young woman that she comes in contact with. Our next post is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend she is not allowed to tell my daughter what to do? I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years, but she only moved in with me 6 months ago. I'm a widower, so I wanted to make sure that our relationship was serious before I was okay with her moving in with me and my daughter. Generally, they get along pretty well. I told my girlfriend at the very beginning of our relationship that I wasn't looking for a stepmom for my daughter. She's old enough that she doesn't need a new mum. Last weekend, I went camping with one of my mates for 2 days, and my girlfriend stayed home with my daughter. I knew my daughter was going to a party on Saturday, and I already agreed to it. But when I came back from my camping trip, my daughter complained that my girlfriend told her that she had to wash her makeup off and do one that's less provocative before she could leave the house. I got angry at my girlfriend and told her that she wasn't allowed to order my daughter around, and she wasn't allowed to prevent her from doing anything that I already agreed to. We had a huge fight, and since then we barely talked. Am I the a-hole in this situation? Edit, my daughter is 16. She doesn't need a babysitter, and my girlfriend isn't my daughter's stepmom or guardian. She's my girlfriend, that's it. In the comments, not the a-hole. I seriously don't understand the you're the a-hole replies here. Your daughter is 16, and you made it clear with your girlfriend she is not going to be a mum figure in any way whatsoever. It's not her place to talk about that, and especially the taking of the makeup thing. What's all that about? Is she really tramp-shaming your daughter here? Also, you might want to talk with your girlfriend about the provocative thing. It is absolutely disgusting to have this mindset instead of talking about other people and keeping their hands to themselves. I agree, not the a-hole. However, I do think there is some nuance here. I'm a stepmom. The kids have both their parents in their lives and are 50-50 with each. I am not their mum, I will never fill that role, it is filled by their bio mum. However, they are still minors who I share a household with. As a result, I do feel somewhat responsible for them, and I do care about them. My stepdaughter is 9, and they started wearing makeup to school. I was shocked. 9 seems so young for makeup, but I didn't call them any type of gendered slur or otherwise shame them. I spoke privately with their father and brought it to his attention. He spoke with their bio mom, and they both agreed that 9 is too young for makeup at school. At sleepovers, to play around with it is fine, wearing it at home for fun on the weekend is fine, but not to school yet. So unless the children or someone else are in actual physical danger, I take my concerns to their father, who talks with their mom about it, and they reach a decision. Makeup is not a physical danger situation. If OP was concerned, at 16 you just let the daughter go out for the night, and then separately, privately talk to the father. Now, I wouldn't call makeup provocative, but if I felt like my 16-year-old stepchild wasn't wearing makeup well, I'd suggest maybe we go to makeup store together and get a makeup lesson and buy new products. Of course, I'd suggest it to their father first and make sure he was okay with it, but I'd do this really only if the makeup was poorly applied. Foundation didn't match child's skin tone, and they left an obvious orange line on their chin/neck, for an example. So I think it's okay to have some concerns about a minor living in your own home when you are not their parent, but you don't shame them like OP did. And unless it's danger of physical harm, you take concerns to their parents in private. And now onto the update. Firstly, I just want to say thank you that I didn't expect my post to blow up the way that it did. I read through all of the comments despite there being so many, and I really appreciate everyone's input. Unfortunately, this update is not exactly a happy one. The day after my post, I tried to have a serious, lengthy discussion about boundaries and our relationship in general, just like many of you suggested. But the discussion got pretty heated, and she said that the reason she asked my daughter to wash her makeup off is because she looked like a tramp. For me, that was just too much. I asked her to leave my house, and by the evening, she moved out. Right now, I don't know if I did the right thing or not, because I truly love my girlfriend, but I just couldn't let anyone talk that way about my daughter. Since she moved out, we haven't talked at all, other than her texting me saying she'll pick up the rest of her things next week. So again, I appreciate everyone that commented on my original post. Seems like I'll have to remain a single dad for a bit longer. In the comments, I don't know how your daughter looked, and neither do you. I have a grandniece who used to dress trampy. Too much makeup, too tight/too short clothes, etc., would not listen to anyone and became a single mum at 18 to 19 years old. Her mother, my niece, is trashy, has been in prison numerous times, has 5 kids from 3 baby daddies, and goes through men like Kleenex. I don't know how many times she's been married. Does not listen to anyone. When I was about 16, my father made me take off my cut-off shorts, that even I knew were too short, and he cut them up. My self-esteem is just fine, thank you very much. And while you think that you are teaching your daughter that anything goes with her appearance, you're also teaching her that it's okay to throw away a long-term relationship because of one fairly simple disagreement. And you are teaching her not to get involved when somebody she loves could be headed for trouble. You were a 16-year-old boy once, and you know how they think and act. Unless your ex was bullying your daughter in your absence, it sounds to me as if she had your daughter's best interests in mind. OP says, firstly, I do know how she looks when she goes out, and trust me, clothing doesn't make you a single parent. Poor choices do. I became a father at 17, and my then girlfriend was a typical tomboy. It wasn't her appearance that caused the pregnancy, it was my stupidity. And that's something that I am teaching my daughter, not that she can't wear skirts. Sorry, I know it's not happy for you, but as an objective reader, I consider this a good outcome. It's very not cool that your girlfriend accused your daughter of trying to look trampy, so I'm happy knowing that your daughter has a good dad who will choose her over his love life. Thanks, and good luck finding a better girlfriend. Please don't doubt your decision here. 16 is a tender age between childhood and adulthood, and I remember how harshly I was treated by my parents then for similar crimes. Quite a few years ago now. Your daughter will never forget you're backing her up now, like I'll never forget my own parents for damning me. You did good here, OP. Posted by user ThrowCoat, titled, My 35 female husband's 40 male family won't leave us alone. I'm at my wit's end and really don't know what to do. We are married 11 years with an 8-year-old daughter. My husband and I work full-time jobs. His parents and siblings are overbearing, always have been. They would visit us randomly during weekday evenings and stay entire afternoons over the weekend. I would need to cook for them, lay the table, clean up, etc. At a point 5 years ago, I just had enough. I found a new job and moved across the country with our child, 1,000 miles. My husband followed after a few months when he managed to secure a job. I have been even more of a witch in their eyes ever since because I now took their son/brother away and robbed them of precious time with our daughter. I didn't have an issue with them visiting a few times a year, and we did the same. 3 months ago, his sister and her husband moved house such that they are 1 mile away from us. They just dropped in on us, taking me by surprise. Free world, I didn't react, but now we bump into them at the local store all the time. They always want to come over, borrow stuff, etc. And yet still, I say nothing. 1 month ago, his retired parents dropped that they are also moving to our city. They too are like a stone's throw away. We are back to square one. Time spending in my home, unannounced visits, requests for favors, et al. My husband and I are arguing so much that we are contemplating divorce. Am I being a total bear by wanting to move away again, even further this time? They have destroyed my peace and happiness. I'm going to say that I think I'm on your side for this one, OP. I agree, you are back to square one in this situation, and it is causing so much tension between you and your husband. You would think that after initially moving, they would get the hint that, hey, we need our space and privacy and time away from you guys. Yet these people decided to creep right back into your lives again, and you're arguing and contemplating divorce with your husband. This family being in your life does sound like a deal breaker in this relationship, and I don't think you're being a total bit by wanting to move away again. And now for some comments and replies from OP. Quote, I found a new job and moved across the country with our child, 1,000 miles. My husband followed after a few months while he managed to secure a job. I have been even more of a witch in their eyes ever since because I now took their son and brother away and robbed them of precious time with our daughter. This right here is why I think you're a total B. Could you at least say that you told your husband you were going to move? Did you give him an ultimatum? Did you even try to communicate that his family is smothering you to them or to your husband? Like, honestly, I hope it is the case, because that sounds really effed. And OP replies, okay, my bad. I didn't explain properly. Yes, I addressed it with my husband countless times, but things could change for a while and then go back. He doesn't see their behavior as a problem. As for moving away, I certainly asked him to do it with me. He's a lawyer and he threatened me with all kinds of things, but when I had enough, I told him that I am leaving and that he can join us if he ever wanted to. Tell your husband and in-laws that you enjoy your personal time and they're invading. If everyone lives 5 or so miles away, then why is your home always the meeting spot? Your husband can visit them. That way you can stay home and enjoy your peace. It's not easy to tell people who forcibly spend a lot of time with you, hey, I need you to leave. But that's the only reasonable solution here. The moving doesn't work and is costly. OP replies, you're correct. They impose on the basis that my husband is their only son and the eldest, whatever the flip that's supposed to imply. Does the eldest son take care of aging parents in his culture? I wonder if that's where the entitlement is either coming from or leading to. I'm concerned when you said that you work hard and they feel entitled to your lifestyle. Do you know if your husband has plans to support them now or in the future? Just be careful about your resources, retirement fund, savings, etc. OP replies, I'm Italian, they are Dutch. It can't be a cultural thing, surely, but it's almost like this is something they all just expect. I do need to move funds away. Sad thought, but it is relevant. Redditor replies, I'm Dutch, and this is not common behavior where I live. I'd be so mad if my in-laws did this. You're going to need to put your foot down and tell them, very bluntly, that they are overstaying their welcome. Your husband needs to have your back in this. If he doesn't, he is not putting your well-being first. And now to the update. So I kept to the plan of speaking to him on Friday night. We had a lovely dinner, got home to watch a movie, cuddled up, and I started the conversation. He was not at all surprised. I spoke gently and lovingly, explaining that I simply needed space, and made many suggestions like calls before a visit, meeting at a restaurant, taking turns with lunches and dinner, him visiting without me, etc. He listened until I was done, and then with a straight face, told me that he hates me and has felt this way for many years. He feels isolated and suffocated in our marriage. His work is his happy place, and he is happiest when he is with his family. He said that his feelings for me changed when I was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder 3 years ago. He felt that I would in any event soon either die or be unable to care for our daughter or continue working. He admitted that the relocations were planned on this basis, and that his family would step up to care for our daughter. He needed them close by, and so does my daughter. He would speak to them about less visits and planned visits. He also thinks that we should just stay married for the sake of our daughter and see how life plays out. He was happy to simply co-parent while living as friends in our home. He doesn't think that divorce is a viable option because it would mean me dying alone and us missing out on our joint material lifestyle, i.e. our home, cars, etc. So here I am, broken, betrayed, let down, abandoned, not really sure what best describes my pathetic life. Not sure what I'll do now. My daughter loves her father dearly. Perhaps I should insist on a divorce and leave everything behind. They win. I have no fight in me and didn't know that our life was a game for God knows how long. I need a psychologist, and I think he does too, but totally separately, not couples therapy. OP provides some edits and says, thanks to everyone that responded here and messaged me. I have read through every single comment, and I'm grateful that I put my story out. My original post was aimed at normal family issues. I didn't mention that I'm fighting leukemia because I didn't want that to be the focus. I will definitely shop around for a strong lawyer that hopefully has no allegiance to him. He is a heartless lawyer. My daughter is my reason to live. I will need to give serious thought to what he can and shouldn't know, in my view. Yes, he generates a high income, but so do I. What makes me attractive is that I have a significant inheritance from my parents. He thinks he deserves 50% of it. Thanks again to everyone who responded. I am humbled. And now for some comments. He achieved what I thought was impossible. My jaw dropped. Carry on with your plans for separation. I am offering you the biggest internet hug. I am so genuinely upset for you. Your husband is the shittiest of humans, and I hope that karma bites him solidly in the ass. And OP replies, I left this out, but he actually said to me that my leukemia and my parents' car crash is my karma playing out. OP shares her husband's actions throughout her treatment. He attended most serious doctors' conversations. I thought he cared. In hindsight, he was making sure that he knows exactly what the prognosis is at all times. I can't even think. This is evil. I'm absolutely floored at the complete 180 OP's husband did. It doesn't seem like she had any idea of his true feelings before that conversation. Like, he straight up told her that he hates her and that her leukemia is karma, which is just yeesh. I've hated you since you got leukemia is a thing I suppose you could say to the human that you pledge to love, honor, and cherish through sickness and health. He married the gold pot, not the human being. What a piece of crap. Honestly, yeah, I feel like these comments take the words right out of my mouth in this situation. Who can honestly blame OP for the way that they're feeling after all of this? This is just life-shattering. It's so sad. His only manufactured reason against a divorce is that she would be dying alone and us missing out on our joint material lifestyle. Oh yeah, don't worry, babe. Don't break up with me because I need the home, the cars, everything else. I don't want to miss out on that just because you're dying and because I hate you and everything else. What a sad, miserable existence. Anyway, enough of me. I want to know what you guys think in the comments down below. What would you say to the husband in this situation? How would you enact your own karma?